Good morning. Welcome in to Hurrdat Sports Radio here on a Friday. You got through your short week.
Friday. Got to get down on Friday.
That's Rebecca Black. Damon Benning.
Everybody's work. Who's she?
She's the person that's singing the song you're singing.
Oh, I thought it was Sasha.
No, that's our boss.
Well, yeah, I get that.
She didn't invent the song.
Oh.
That's Rebecca Black. She was like a little.
It wasn't Nick Baugh?
Nicholas Allen?
Yeah.
We should talk to him again soon.
That was what
I know it's not basketball
That's
season,
what they
but
played on his show.
yeah. No, it's not. That's a person. That's a real song. Well, I don't know if real song, but it was a song that was written by someone else.
It was catchy.
It was super catchy.
I used to kind of bob my head when they played it.
That and Call Me Maybe were right about the same time.
Hey,
I just met you.
Oh,
and this is crazy.
That song sucks.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, see, maybe. Call Me Maybe. That's Carly Rae Jepsen. That's a different person.
I don't know her either.
That's all right. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, at the Pillar Exterior Stage.
You are looking live.
If you're watching us, you certainly are. Otherwise, you might be listening. You might be bebopping around town.
Yeah.
Just a little bebop and booberry.
So the old getting off on Harrison coming down 126 again.
Was there a giant deer again? Did you have to watch out?
there was no no disrespect.
Ridiculous.
No giant monstrosity. No, it's like I love the people that are going to sneak over into the other lane to get onto the interstate.
Oh yeah, this makes you mad.
That impede the progress of everyone else because they can't wait 6 or 7 cars.
Hey, you gotta be able to stand in line.
It's incredible how selfish people are.
Yeah, it's bad.
Selfish.
It's unbelievable.
It's a microcosm of one of the things that I dislike the most about people.
Just inherently being selfish?
Well, the thinking that whatever they have to do is more important is inherently more important, which it's a form of selfishness.
So what happens is if you're getting on the interstate, if you know what I'm talking about, you're going on south on 126 from Harrison, going to get on the interstate, whether you're going east or west. West is your first option.
Mm-hmm.
These people will get in the inside lane because there aren't a ton of people that just want to go to either Casey's or
they're not
come to our work
going through.
Yeah. They'll speed up and stop and turn their turn signal on.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
And don't hit me up. I know there's like zipper merge.
No, that's not what
there.
That's not.
I know.
That's not really what that is.
No, I know.
It's not a merge. They're
being Richards.
Yeah, you're not merging.
I understand that.
It's a made up merge.
Anytime this comes up, there's like zipper merge truthers out there. They're more devout than flat earthers, where they will just whatever even sort of resembles a zipper merge.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, no, that's actually faster. No, it's not. You're being a jerk.
Yeah, they're
knock it off.
The problem is people that are on the easternmost lane or the left lane, they can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
I always just want to, and I'm not gonna be mad. I just want them to say out loud, like, hey, what are you thinking? And then hear their thought process, and then have to hear them. I want them to hear their process out loud.
And see if they still think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Because then and some will. Some will be like, hey man, like I gotta be where I have to be is more important than where you have to be, or I'm just trying to get like whatever.
Yeah.
But so at least you know what you're dealing with. But gosh, I really want to know.
Unless you're like an ER doc or something and you got called in, like I probably not here for it.
Yeah. So the 3 cars that did it, not ER guys.
Probably not doctor cars.
No. Although one did have a fire department sticker on his little mini SUV.
Yeah.
With the FD, that's what they are with the crescent.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I should know because that's what my nephew does. But
I would say
he wasn't.
Shout out to Brandon.
Yeah, 100.
Yeah.
I would say if you're having a baby or if you're saving a life, maybe.
I thought you were going to say if you're having girl problems, I feel bad for you, son.
I got 99 problems.
I don't even recognize what we're doing.
But a zipper merge ain't one.
What is a zipper merge? Explain that to me. That's the first time I've heard that.
You know how a zipper works, right, Shane?
Yep.
Okay, so imagine the cars are the little teeth on the zipper.
Okay.
And so if you've got 2 lanes that need to merge into one, you're basically going every other.
Okay.
That's all.
That's it.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah. So if you've ever traveled on Center Street, which is constantly having,
Yeah, it's a disaster.
but
But it's like when you go from 2 lanes down to 1.
Oh,
It's how the cars are. It's the fastest way, allegedly, for the cars to
yeah,
get
and,
into
and
the
I
lane.
and I feel terrible because I'm usually that guy that will straddle. This happens along 120th between Center and L.
So people can't zip around.
Nope.
Yeah,
I
I do
sh-
that. I do that.
I straddle it. I'm like, you're not doing that.
I do that on the turn lane out here, coming into when I'm coming off the interstate and then you turn right.
Is that childish?
Probably, but I'm gonna do
I
it
don't
anyway.
think so, though. It's no more childish than speeding to
Yes,
get in front
it
of
is
someone.
an equal
when
amount.
they're
of
not going to let you
childishness.
in.
I also think so. This is me justifying.
Aren't I doing the right thing though, or am I not?
I don't know if you're doing the right thing. You're not doing anything more wrong than they are. But here's how
No, that's
I know that's a dangerous line of
I don't like that
reasoning.
wording. That you just got on me yesterday for that. Like,
yeah, 100%.
being the best of the worst doesn't make you good.
Yeah, you're just a dude. No, so my justification for it is,
So you're picking up where you've started this whole week.
I mean, I'll show you the blood sugars again. The justification for it for me when I'm like being petty in the merge lane or in the turn lane,
Yeah.
is it actually is dangerous for people to go shoulder and then try and get around everybody. Because if people don't know you're doing that, they're going to try and get into the turn lane where they're supposed to and might hit you. So if I'm blocking that from happening, I maybe am going a little like Batman Vigilante there, but
Hey, so
I do think I'm being helpful.
Why we're solving the world's driving problems. What percentage of people on the interstate do you think don't know that the left lane is for the through lane? I'm talking about for all the people that go 75 in the left lane.
Judging speed limit 70.
Not on the interstate.
Yeah, it is.
The interstate is 75.
Well, depends on where. In town, it's 70.
Oh, I meant no.
Or 65.
I'm
You're talking about on the way to Lincoln.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
Where it seems like I've been 32 times.
Well, like you said, it's only 34 minutes from your door.
That is correct.
That's basically like driving downtown.
Would you drive 34 minutes for a good brunch?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna contemplate it.
But no, yeah. So if you're going, you can't be going the speed limit in the left lane. Like that's not gonna work.
It's incredible.
It's not great. You don't want that.
Yeah. So I felt like Thursday. Oh, I have one more question.
Not that we're advocating speeding. Go ahead.
I feel like a penguin.
Nah.
We talked to Sip yesterday.
Yeah, he was good. We probably should have kept him
I
longer.
know. We were squished in there because of
We were what?
We were squished. Like a little.
I drove there shirtless.
I don't remember the last time I heard an adult say squished. Squished.
Yeah.
That is something Zoe would say. I swear to goodness.
Well, I mean,
squished.
Zoe and I are both very smart.
You were squished in there.
Well, we had a guest before him. We had a guest after him. That's what you call squish.
Unfortunately, I thought of you yesterday. I picked up. What?
Unfortunately, you thought of me yesterday.
I mean, yeah.
I care about you.
Middle of the day. No,
this was a good one, Shane.
No, not gonna go that far. So I was leaving All American Meats, Nebraska Beef. I went to go see Sean Buchanan. So just hanging down at the plant, and unfortunately, it Ollie Williams. It rained, and I mean it rained hard.
It's gonna rain.
It was it
was coming down.
So I had to pull around and pick Mike up from basketball camp, and he comes bebopping out, and he's like walking, and I'm like, man, I said, something happened? Like, you hurt? Like, what's going on? Like, everybody else is like jogging to their car.
Yeah,
like,
I got a little hustle in their step.
Yeah, it's hoopers, right? They're like,
yeah.
And he gets in the back seat. I go, what's the matter with you? Nothing. Why are you walking like that? I didn't want to slip. What do you mean you didn't want to slip? Dad, I'm wearing Crocs. I wasn't going to fall. It's worse than being wet. Okay. I went back to the tough hang thing. I was like, that's kind of tough.
I mean, can we start with my guy wearing Crocs? Like, come on, bud.
Oh,
I know it's like the whole generation, but like, come on.
And so here, the other thing was, he's like, he's just going into 9th grade. He's like, they want me to play JV tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
There's scrimmages. I'm like, dang, already? You've only been there 2 days.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's cool though, because he is gonna be really good. And I go, so what time do you play? 1:30, 2:30, 3:30. What do you think's the first thing I thought of? Me being me.
On Saturday?
No, today.
Oh, today. To this day?
Yeah.
What are you gonna eat?
To this day.
Where am I gonna watch Nebraska baseball?
Oh yeah, duh.
I'm like, Nebraska baseball's at 2.
You get a little phone. You just watch it on your phone.
I hate that.
I mean,
So then I thought, is it bad if I say, oh, these don't count? I'm going to go watch this and not watch what you're doing? Or do I be a good parent and go support what he's doing? I was like, you know who doesn't have this problem? Someone with no kids.
one Ravi and Lulla does not have this problem. You know what I'm going to be doing it too?
Watching baseball.
Watching Nebraska baseball.
Were you surprised to see Florida favored?
Not really.
That
Like
the Big Ten bias is real.
Called the Big Ten, called the SEC.
It's the Florida. It's the
call it Caglione.
But
here's the
I get it. And plus, I full disclosure, as the coach from Alabama figured out, college baseball betting lines, they're almost never right. They don't get sharp
no
until like maybe the Supers and certainly the
College World
CWS.
Series, yeah.
So it's like
that's the thing that people don't really understand about betting. It's not about who you think is good or bad. It's about how you think the lines are.
Yeah, and here's the other thing
Yeah.
too. Like people's bullpen. You see how many leads are blown in college baseball?
Yeah, there's a lot of bad bullpens.
It's
A
incredible.
lot of bad bullpens.
People will make up like 3 or 4 runs in the last 7 or the 7th, 8th, 9th inning.
Yeah, unless
like nobody's business.
9-10 outs.
It's like, yeah.
Bullpens are hard.
It's
It's really difficult to put together a good bullpen in college.
So I guess I'm not up. And I thought 2 things. I'm like, okay, maybe people don't think the Big Ten is very good. And what have we heard all week to validate Florida, their strength of schedule?
Yeah.
So
the thing I went to is what we talked about yesterday with
Nebraska's RPI is incredible.
Yeah.
And their conference RPI is it's the 4th highest in base.
Yeah, the Big Ten was actually pretty good this year. Like,
you know what I mean?
Significantly better than people realize. My concern
Hi, Shane.
And the thing I instantly went to was Florida's bats in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing where I can't.
Did you get any sleep? Are you traumatized?
Not traumatized. I'm just like I don't know how Nebraska gets around that.
Can your man J.C. Penney keep the ball down?
Sears?
Yeah.
That's a stretch.
Montgomery Ward.
Brent Sears. Montgomery Ward, I would have got a little faster. Sears and Roebuck.
You're not even that old.
No, I remember Sears though.
Yeah, did you just look at the catalog?
No, we would go. There was the one at Oakview. We would like go and whatever.
No, that was J.C. Penney.
No, there was also a Sears at Oakview.
I love how you say it. You're just like
I mean, I went to Oakview all the time. Like that was the mall. Like it was a mile from my house. Like there was a Sears at Oakview.
Yeah, I know Millard Northian.
I promise. There was also a J.C. Penney. There was also a Dillard's. There was also a Yonkers at one point.
Oh, I remember Yonkers.
Yeah.
There was Yonkers at Westroad.
R.I.P.
Deuces.
I didn't really like the.
So is that what you think it is? Like we're just not bad line or conference affiliation?
All the above. Can it be a bad line because of conference affiliation?
Well, I don't know. Maybe bad line is a too strong of a term. It's only I can't even remember what it was. Maybe minus 145, 140.
Yeah, I mean it seems a little aggressive, but that's the thing with a lot of these lines, right? Is Vegas can't be experts on everything, right? So me and my buddy used to clean up on Missouri Valley basketball back in the day.
You and your friend? Is he anonymous?
No, his name's Matt Santa Maria. Good dude. Do you know Matt?
Where has he been?
So he is in North Carolina now.
So he's
out of the biz.
Yeah.
So he went to California. Well, so he was in Joplin.
Yeah.
And then he was up in Lincoln, and then he went to California to be a sports director out there, and then he got out of the business. But no, he I forgot that you might know him. Yeah, we went to high school together. Me and him were good buddies.
Another Millard Northian?
Hell yeah.
Jeez, you guys are everywhere.
But me and him used to clean up when kind of like in the late aughts.
Yeah.
When it was all very super legal. The
We have a mutual associate
who?
that used to really pick the brains of, how can I say this without giving him up? That would pick the brains of coaches
Mm.
in a league he had an affinity for,
Okay.
and play angles that way.
Yeah, I feel like I know who this is. But yeah, so like
So
it's
weird. Like,
we were obviously big.
he would dominate that conference.
So like we were obviously big Creighton fans, but this was like the mid to late aughts, and so they like that wasn't a great stretch for them. But Vegas never really adjusted the lines. Like they thought Creighton was great at home because they had these good numbers, like good attendance numbers, right? But Creighton was going like 500 at home in conference play, right? And so we would hammer these lines because they would
You've
always.
been a degenerate for quite some time.
Oh yeah, I come by it naturally, or honestly, I don't know which.
Oh,
Well,
runs rampant in the old household.
No, actually, it really doesn't. Although my dad is really good at the stock market.
I feel like
so
whatever you say is really going to incriminate yourself.
my dad is really good at the stock market, so I mean, I feel like that's not too much of a hop, skip, and a jump to sports gambling.
Yeah.
Um,
Would you like to play a quick game?
sure.
Okay. I'm going to give you the region
Yeah.
and the teams, and you tell me who you think the favorite is.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Let's go to the Chapel Hill region with LSU, North Carolina, Wofford, and LIU, Brooklyn. Who is your favorite to win the region?
So I feel like this is a trick question
It's a challenge.
because it probably should be North Carolina.
He's a trip, boy, I tell you.
It probably should be North Carolina, but I feel like we're leaning SEC bias here, and LSU was hot late, so I'm going to say LSU.
You overthought it.
It was
North Carolina is your
Well,
favorite at minus 145 to win the region. Let's go to Charlottesville, Virginia, Mississippi State, St. John's, Pennsylvania. Who is your fave to win the region?
Mississippi State, St. John's, Pennsylvania, and who?
Virginia.
Who am I missing?
Meet Virginia.
Nobody, Bo.
I'm gonna go Virginia.
So Virginia is your favorite at minus 135. Let's go to Clemson, shall we?
Ooh,
Clemson,
Vandy.
Vandy, Coastal, High Point. Who is your favorite?
It's either I'm gonna go Vandy here.
Clemson is your favorite at minus 135. Let's go to Lexington.
Okay.
Where they put your Indiana State bunch. Kentucky, Indiana State, Illinois, Western Michigan. Who is your favorite?
My favorite's Indiana State. I'm guessing betting favorite's Kentucky.
Kentucky by a considerable margin, minus 185.
So you're getting aggressive there.
Let's go to your favorite.
Indiana State got host.
That tugs at your heartstrings.
Who's that?
Let's go to Tallahassee. Florida State, Alabama, Central Florida, Stetson.
I mean, it's
The
got to be
Cologne for men. Who is the
it's
favorite?
got to be Florida State.
Florida State. Not very robust, but it's 150.
And that's a little surprising to me.
Let's go to Athens
Georgia.
with Georgia, Georgia Tech, UNC Wilmington, and the great story of the Army Cadets.
I mean, probably Georgia.
Your heaviest fave up to this point, minus 225.
Yeah, that's not a great region.
Let's go to College Station,
Are you guys going?
Texas A&M,
Where they don't spend stupid money. Right?
Texas, Louisiana, Grambling State at a paltry plus 8,000. Who is your favorite?
A&M.
They are so far your largest favorite. Would you like to guess at what?
What was Georgia at?
225
275.
minus 300. Let's go to Greenville quickly. Wake Forest, East Carolina, Virginia Commonwealth, and Evansville. Who is your favorite?
Wake.
At minus 150. Do I need to do Knoxville?
Tennessee.
Okay. Let's go to Norman. Shall
Norman?
we? Duke, Oklahoma, Connecticut, and Oral Bob.
Duke.
Just minus 175. Now, this is your first region without a minus fave.
Oh, okay.
We're in Raleigh.
Okay.
NC State, South Carolina, James Madison, and Bryant Rule.
NC State.
It is a trick question. They are both plus 100.
Mm.
NC State and South Kakalaki. Let's go to Fayetteville. Do we need to do Fayetteville?
Arkansas.
Okay. How about this one?
What's the number for Arkansas?
Minus 275.
Oh, that's a big one.
Again, not a minus fave.
Okay.
We're in Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara, Oregon, San Diego, Fresno.
It's got to be Santa Barbara.
At just plus 115.
That's disrespectful.
100.
Shall we go to Stillwater?
I'll take plus money on Santa Barbara all day.
This one's interesting.
Okay.
Stillwater. Stillwater.
Mm.
Okie State, obviously Florida, Nebraska, Niagara.
Did they make Florida the favorite here?
Who is your favorite?
Because if they're favored over Nebraska, I don't think people are in love with Oklahoma State. It should be Oklahoma State, but I'm going to go. Is Florida the favorite?
You overthought it.
Is Oklahoma State?
Oklahoma State is the fave at what number?
Is it high?
High.
Like minus 275?
200.
Really?
Yes. Two more. Arizona, Dallas Baptist, West Virginia, Grand Canyon, Arizona, DBU. At what number?
I'm going to guess not super high because DBU is really good.
Not a minus fave here.
Well, so that makes sense. Plus 150.
On the nose. But both Arizona and DBU are plus 150. That's incredible.
DBU is really good.
That's incredible.
Yeah, DBU is really good.
Well done.
Thank you.
Lastly, let's go to Corvallis. See Uncle Mike Riley. Oregon State, UC Irvine, Tulane, and Nichols State.
What's that?
Should be Oregon State.
Correct.
I'm going to guess minus.
Yes.
I think probably pretty aggressively. Minus 225.
175. So you're kind of in all the ballparks. So maybe Vegas does have it right.
Maybe.
Because it's not like, oh man, what are you thinking?
No. I thought they were maybe going to overvalue the SEC in some places, but other than that, we're pretty much in lockstep.
You could get LSU at plus money.
Do I want LSU at plus money?
I don't know. It's not value if it doesn't work.
I'll take that's fair. Michigan Lance, hang on. We will take your call on the other side of the break. That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla. It's Hurrdat Sports Radio. We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. You can also find us on all your favorite podcast providers if you are catching up on the show later. That's Apple, Spotify, TuneIn.
I never say tune in. Thank you for reminding me. I should commit that to memory.
Yeah, because I think Google got rid of their podcast.
Is that what you couldn't figure out?
Yeah, because Google was being a pain about adding us to their network or whatever.
Us like me and you.
Us like our show.
Oh.
But I think they're gone. I don't think Google does podcasts anymore. I think they're falling behind the podcast game.
Why? What happened?
Well, like Spotify and TuneIn kind of dominate the Android podcast market.
Yeah.
And so there was really no reason for Google to continue operating in that space.
There's no failure in sports.
Ravi.
Well, that's not sports, it's podcasts, and there was failure.
I feel Snark is
sports podcast.
Snark is kind of trending for the day. It must be Friday.
Who, me?
I
haven't really been snarky yet.
No. My man Dallas, who is fantastic. He's over at Malcolm now. I've basically been following him his whole career. He's like, yo, DB, Ravi. I teach driving school. Well, driver's ed. If you want a lesson, 13 hours on the road with teen drivers. Oh, gosh. Bless your heart, Dallas. But he is good with kids. He said he may also be able to help me with my parking issues. Listen, so that's not a thing for me. Can we just get this out?
What, the parking issues?
I'm a tremendous parker.
Like Peter?
No, like Zickman. No.
Like Gabriel?
I complain about parking. I'm a great park. I just got on YouTube Wednesday over both your poor parking protocols.
Listen, I'm always in the lines.
You're awful.
I'm always in the
for
lines.
a high functioning adult. You may outside of Coach Lamanji, you may be the worst I've ever seen.
maybe there's a
And he has an excuse because he has a big old truck.
yeah.
And they gave him kind of a weird stall number. It's at the end. It's anyway. But even Shane is suspect.
I mean, look. We're in the lines. We are in the lines.
You're almost touching with your front right tire. That is
Almost.
god awful.
Almost, but not. I'm in the lines.
Is it
Now, okay.
intentional or are you being special?
Now, okay, so it's rained a few
My mom
times.
Oh, here we go.
My
It's
mom always
rained a
told me
few
I'm special.
times. The lines out there, you can't see
God made you
when
special.
they're wet because they're not
Shane,
as,
it wasn't that wet, my man.
they're not dark
That
lines.
thing wet.
Yeah, it was wet the other day. So I mean, just
Today is better. I'll give you that.
yeah, because it's not wet out there.
How about
lines.
Numbnuts coming here
In the lines.
yesterday or the day before, and he had on that stupid T-shirt, and you're like, "Oh, I love your shirt, Verse." I was like, "That shirt sucks." that was cute.
You were mostly mad because it had first name, last name on it. I think.
Yeah, whatever.
If it had DBs, you'd have been fine.
And then Shane asked a question on Twitter.
Is that what it had on there?
You're an
Yes.
idiot. You're an idiot.
Yes.
Pretty much. Dude said, dumb question of the day. Do you have your show posted somewhere? How quickly do they get it posted? Trying to get a listen schedule down, and I'd like to be able to catch up before I miss work. Appreciate it. I'm like, hey, Shane, first of all, thank you for listening. All love. Do you know it's not a dumb question? I can't answer it.
I can't read.
How do I not know the answer to that question?
It's hard. I don't have an answer for you. That's
Do you just look at me sometimes and sigh?
Sometimes I look at you and I'm like, how'd you make it this far?
I don't know. I don't.
That question does cross my mind occasionally.
I don't know.
It's all right though.
Although
I mean, you've been doing this for a long time.
Somebody really, 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 really smart yesterday said something I should put on the back of a T-shirt.
That's a beautiful question.
You quoting me again?
Nope. This dude is out of control. So I told you I was with Sean yesterday, Buchanan. We were talking about putting teams together, and he's got a great relationship with Childress. He played at Nebraska, and obviously in baseball, and we're talking about Rule and staff and his team, like his business, and just real matter of fact, we're talking about putting pieces together and like building personnel. And he said, what I don't know, I always try to hire someone.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wasn't really looking at it when he said it. I was looking at a gentleman that was from New Orleans that wanted to stop in and say hello. That was kind of telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at him and I said, that should be a T-shirt. And he just said it real matter of fact.
Yeah.
If what I don't know, I try to hire those people. And it sounded just like something Coach Rule would say. Oh, I'm not an expert in that. I need to go find
go hire
who the experts are.
We'll go hire him. Somebody that I think considers himself an expert in just
Oh,
anything.
Lord.
Our guy Michigan Lance here is on the line. Michigan Lance, what's going on, bud?
Man, good morning, boy. Hey,
Michigan Lance, are you an expert
on?
Oh, okay.
It depends on the subject.
Well, that Ravi said that was the segue, and I know you can't hear, I don't think, but I was talking about hiring expert, and he goes, "Oh, speaking of someone that probably thinks he's an expert, let's go to Michigan Lance."
Oh, yeah. It's not a lot of thought into that. That's actual factual.
Oh, wow.
Now, there's some things. Hey, there's some things that
It's
I'm
definitely
really an
Friday.
expert on.
It's definitely Friday.
Hey, there's some things I'm an expert on. Now, there's some things I'm not. I'll tell you what that is. Like handy tools and working on cars. Hey, that's not me. Being out there, being the manly man of guard. Out in the rough and tough, whatever wilderness. That's not me. Not an expert in any of that. So I know my strengths and weaknesses.
What's up?
Hey, Ravi.
What's up?
I talked to Charles Wilson Jr.
And we were talking about guy. Yeah.
He is a good
visiting
dude.
Omaha, and we were talking, and he was like, yeah, he's gonna get back with his Grace people and have a little reunion. I said, oh, is Ravi gonna be there? He was like, no, I had him at NCC. I said, oh yeah, okay, I remember now. And but he said he is gonna try to get you guys together too for a little mini reunion there this summer.
Are you guys all coming back? Is he coming back those same 2 weeks in June?
Yeah, I thought we were, but I got it wrong. I thought we were coming at the same time. He said July. I thought he said June. And I was like, hey, man, I'm coming back to it. He's like, oh, it's good. Have fun. I said, well, aren't you going to be there? He said, no, I'm July. I'm like, oh, man. But
Well, they both start with J.
Yeah, exactly. But July wouldn't have worked for me for what I'm trying to do with my son down there. So
yeah, I mean, I could roll up to the Grace one. I did coach there for several years, so like technically.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, but I knew because you guys, that's a whole different world of community that I didn't know about. McMorris kind of got me on that. Remember they won the national championship there, DB? I was like, where?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know that college existed. I grew up in Omaha my whole life, and then I met Charles, and then started learning about Grace and the NCC and like how you guys got your own little community over there, and then I moved out here. My kids go to Trinity Christian Academy High School in elementary. Well, they have a college on campus called Trinity Baptist College, and they're part of the NCCC, all that too. And so I was like, oh, okay. So just that whole little world, man, learning about that stuff. So it's interesting when you find out a whole nother thing going on, man.
Hey,
people in existence.
Michigan Lance, I need you to go be a Berean and do some homework for me. There's a 1A school called Westminster. So it's a Christian.
Okay, yep.
It's
I know what you're talking about.
Christian school. It's Palmetto Bay.
Yeah, we just lost to them in the Final Four of state baseball. Yep.
Okay, so listen, they've got a guy who tested off the charts with his cat combine score. We know the guys that basically, it's guy Adam McClintock. He's got a partner, Dave Bartu, Matrix Analytical. They have developed this system to test athletes. So it's a really slick deal. We're gonna try to get him to bring it to Nebraska. But there's a kid by the name of CJ Miller. CJ Miller. It's really Cornelius Miller. But he goes by CJ Miller. I need you to get on that. His head coach is a guy by the name of Patrick Winnan. And
I can find out the goods for you.
Yep.
See if he's legit. Is that what you're trying to ask?
Yep.
Is he legit?
Well, I know his testing numbers are through the roof.
Right.
So, and he's only 15.
Okay.
And of course, and no, I don't want him to go to Michigan. You know where I want him to go. I want him to go to Nebraska. And so I was telling the staff about him a couple weeks ago. But his numbers are through the roof. Like for example, if Tyreek Hill is a 91, which he is on this combine scoring.
Okay.
This kid is an 87, and he's only 15.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but I get it.
Right there.
But it's 1A, right? So you get what happens down there.
Oh yeah, 1A doesn't mean anything. Like we're a 1A school, and we got in baseball we got 3 Florida commits, a Miami commit. We got another kid with like 5 SEC offers. We got a Florida State commit. Like NFL from our high school right now. So yeah, that doesn't mean anything in the state of Florida, Texas, Georgia. Like when you start talking about classifications of school, that means nothing down here in these parts.
That's Michigan Lance. We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next. Wrapping up hour number 1 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. You can find us on all of the podcast platforms that are still existing. RIP to Google. The podcast platform, not the company.
I know Al Gore is still Shane. Al Gore is still with us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, he invented the internet. I think he's immortal. Is that not how that works?
So I got a DM yesterday. I really, really like this person. And I feel like this happens to me a lot. Yeah. I don't know him.
Yeah.
But we talk a ton. And I kind of get a feel, right?
You talk a lot on the internet.
Like, I'm like, okay, this is somebody I could probably talk to, or this is, but
that's how we started talking.
Yeah. Like, because I'm like, okay. My filter is very, like, my holes are huge. Like, if I was a colander, like, all the little crumbles you scramble, all that's falling through. It is all falling. I'm only keeping the big chunks.
Yeah.
Right. But so I've been talking to, and I assume I hope it's a him. I think it is. I'm 99% sure. And he just yesterday, because when we left, I was talking to where I was yesterday, right? And we were talking about the show.
Oh yeah,
with some of the guys at the plant. Like, that was an incredible show. And I said, he's like, I'm so glad, you're back on 590, because when I'm driving to Wahoo, like, it's a huge signal. And I was like, yeah, it's a big blowtorch, whatever. And
we're the only people you can hear statewide.
And but he said something interesting that I like, and I didn't lay into it. I took the compliment and I shut my mouth. But he said something I felt like was interesting, because I said it leaving the studio. I was like, that conference alignment, money, the whole thing was an amazing conversation. And I said, I told you, I said, one of the things I appreciate, there's not a handful of people that could have that discussion real time, that in depth, and not always agree, but have a back and forth where I felt like everybody learned. Like, that was, and that's what he said. So, and then this other guy, I feel like if I give up his Twitter handle, that's terrible. But he goes, great show again this morning. You guys are excellent. And I was just thinking to myself, sometimes I feel like, how many times do I come back from break and I say, oh man, we better get to more sports? Or
like a lot.
So I'm constantly concerned.
And I'm constantly telling you not to worry about it.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Isn't that weird how that dynamic actually plays out real time?
Yeah.
I'm always critiquing.
No, and I get it. I do. Like, it's something I'm cognizant of, but it's also.
Did you like how he just said it matter of fact? Like, this dude is really babysitting me or something. Yeah, I constantly tell you, don't worry about it. Like, move on.
I've heard it before.
Yeah, right? What doesn't Ravi know? Just ask him. Oh, not a whole lot, DB. Where do you want to start?
I'm not great at chemistry. Yeah, chemistry's pretty bad.
Yeah. Quantum physics, though, you're like stellar.
I really do love physics.
You're an idiot.
Mostly the theoretical side. I don't love the math.
Yeah, you gonna make fun of me for this flavor?
No, I'm all right.
Oh, that's right. You like White Claw?
No, I like High Noons. White Claws aren't very good. They don't have a lot of flavor.
I'm a big bubbly guy.
Is it a guava flavor?
No, it's called. Yeah, I got to tell you about him this morning.
Guava.
It's called Bellini Bliss. Mark,
but
Bellini
it's just like a
Bliss. It's just sparkling water.
Yeah, just like a.
But it was $3
for the can,
for the case.
Oh, okay.
Or 8. I think 8 come in there. It was. I'm like, oh, I'm poor. I'm getting these. Like, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'm a big bubbly. I like.
My wife likes the sparkling waters a lot too.
Oh, we get along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also because you're both like food people,
Again, my mom has this thing. We took her to dinner yesterday, and you came up. We were making fun of the fact that Jay didn't know you were Indian, and somehow Natasha came up, and it's like the third time where my mom goes, "She's so pretty." I'm like, it's kind of weird. Like, stop saying that. But it's pouring and we're in the front seat, so I kind of just let her do her thing. Yeah. But I'm like, really? Like, what's the affinity with people? Like, and Natasha's cool. Like, I like her considerably more than I like you. But, like, what's the thing with...
Most people do. That's fine.
What's the thing with, like, my mom liking people that like, representatives of people that I just don't like that much?
I love Shane.
No, he didn't. No,
oh my goodness.
No, this dude didn't.
I don't know. I think I don't know. I mean, she's very likable. I like her.
Well, that's good. Hey, beats the alternative.
Yeah, I've been there.
Okay.
Wow. Are you taking a flyer on Nebraska to win the regional?
What's the number?
I don't know. Well, I do know.
Up.
Okay, let me go find
Come
it again.
on, man.
Look,
come on, man.
Dude,
trying to talk about sports here, and you're like, hold on.
One of these days, you're going to catch me in a really bad mood, and I'm going to snap here and be like, dang, that dude's got a split personality.
I think I said that to Oh, you know what it was? Because for some reason, at work, they like to bring up the Bo Jackson thing all the time.
Oh, yeah. Sasha drilled you pretty good yesterday in our meeting. That was funny. I feel like you're going to bring up Bo Jackson no matter what. It's close to being obsessed.
And then
But
again,
they're the ones that brought it up this time.
Shane, by the way, his cell phone picks up on the first ring. I got to call him at home. I tried him yesterday in the car. Nebraska is plus 425 to win the regional.
Ooh, that's some value there.
Again, it's not value if it doesn't hit. Do you like their chances to come out of that regional at plus 4.25?
The way they're pitching right now, I'll take a flyer on that.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
I can't get over are we going to act like, is Okie State really minus 200?
Yeah, that doesn't seem right. That seems aggressive.
Let's not tell that to the real McCoy. Coach McCoy ain't having it. Go Niagara.
Yeah.
Purple Eagles, baby.
Let's go.
So I want to hang around with that guy.
He seems cool.
Didn't he?
He seemed really cool.
I want to know about his personal life.
Because, I'm always a little, baseball coaches are not always super loquacious.
I agree, man. Being around covering the CWS for so long,
you're
right. Like some guys don't give you a ton.
Baseball guys are real grumbly a lot of the time.
They're not all Paul Maneris.
And a lot of them don't have a ton of media attention, so they don't do stuff like this a ton, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got
the in dugout interviews
do you think anybody in New York even interviews Coach McCoy for Niagara? Probably not.
No.
Not frequently at the very least.
Yeah, he was sensational. I told my buddy that turned us on to him that I'm like, I'm kind of I'm listening.
Because McCoy's a Midwest guy. He's Dakota Wesleyan, right? Yeah.
Who recruits the heck out of the area. So that's why I was familiar with Dakota Wesleyan.
They used to beat our heads in basketball.
I'm telling you,
they're really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, but as he was talking, you know how we'll do guys or interviews and stuff. It's like, oh, there's more in there.
Yeah.
There's more in there.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about this job, because sometimes you can get in there.
Mm-hmm.
I got into a knockdown. It wasn't a knockdown drag out because I like Seth and he's extremely smart. I have paid attention to him on the Twitter forever, but he didn't get why I was making fun of the Kansas City Chiefs, Iowa, Nebraska night game, Axe game being moved. What is it? What's Wisconsin?
Paul Bunyan's Axe.
Yeah, being moved. And so we went back and forth a little, but I knew I just know his history. So I'm like, okay, there's something in there. So I'm going to listen. So I wanted him to call the show. And I think he meant right then and there, but he's like, hey, I'm at work. I sent you a DM. So on DM, I bet you we talked for 35 minutes.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'm always trying to figure out and critique what's in there if I'm going to engage in conversation. Because sometimes, I retweeted Christian Jones' offer and this dude just went ham.
Yeah.
About Nebraska should drop CJ because I'm like, and I was like, nah, I'm not even going to get into that because I had to go back and look at everything else that was being tweeted. And outside of a couple of Ephesians verses, I was like, I don't know if I could really vibe. Is it worth it?
Yeah.
So, but when we were talking to McCoy, I was like, I probably want to hang out with that guy.
No, he seems like a good hang.
Didn't he?
Yeah. He seemed like a good dude.
I want to know, number one, he's got to have a ton of resolve.
Yes.
Because we looked at the records. Remember us combing through that before when we were prepping?
Yeah.
I was like, wow, his admin must have really hung in there. Because the last 3 years, you started to see the breakthrough. Then he talked about overcoming some things in his personal life. Then he talked about knowing, not knowing everything when he first got the job. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think he's talking about me.
And
I think he's talking about me, Ravi. I think he is.
He also talked about how they had everything buttoned up everywhere else.
Yeah, so go Niagara. Right, yeah, he's like, I knew we were good off the field. Academics.
Good, off the field, we were good. It was just the win.
Shane, he's a stud. We're going to get him on.
And that's that's just going to be a hard place to win. All of those types of schools are really hard places to get results. So, I do appreciate an admin that's realistic about where they are versus where they want to be. I get that you want to be making regionals and you want to be. They didn't even make a conference tournament until 5 years ago.
Oh, I know.
Right? In what the MAAC?
Yeah,
I think Mid-Atlantic.
It's my basketball conference, if we're being honest. But
listen, you could probably find some good value there, like I used to in the Missouri Valley. Make a little hay.
You are safe. I got to introduce you to Aaron.
People didn't know Creighton wasn't. I mean, listen, I wouldn't.
Although I think sometimes you drive him crazy with your Creighton angle. He is not about that life. But you two have some similar personality traits.
You probably don't want to spend a lot of your money betting on Pionk Stinnett. That's all I know. That's hour number 1. At some point, probably in
We
the
got to
next
talk.
segment,
I want to get into that scheduling though, because it drives me crazy.
I'll set up the show at some point too. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. It's Hurrdat Sports Radio. We're back here, kicking off hour number 2 on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. You get your podcasts everywhere you can get podcasts, pretty much. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla, and we are brought to you by the Team Jack Foundation. TeamJackFoundation.org is where you need to go to get involved with this great organization. And honestly, their goal is simple, obviously not easy to accomplish, but they're just trying to find better treatments and eventually a cure for childhood brain cancer. And you can help. You can volunteer. You can donate directly there on the page. You can see what events are coming up, and you can see all the great projects they're helping to fund with the more than $12 million to date raised and counting, because that number is going to keep going up with your help. Go to teamjackfoundation.org to find out how to get involved.
And if you're looking for some practical applications of Team Jack and what they do, my little Lennox, my niece.
That's right.
Trying to get her platelets up so she can travel back to Boston. She is scheduled to leave on the 2nd.
Yeah.
But she's got to get her platelet count up
for sure.
So we are desperately praying over that just to make sure she got a chance.
Absolutely.
Did you see her on?
I did.
Isn't she a cutie pie?
She is.
She's so tough.
Yeah.
Right.
You can tell.
She's tough.
Yeah.
And she's only. Oh, she's a December birthday, so she's 17 months.
I'll say not even 2 yet.
Yeah, she's incredible.
I'm just saying that.
How about those pretty blue eyes?
That kid's gonna be able to do anything she wants.
Yeah.
Let's get to. Okay, Shane, is that a typo or do you not know how to spell bullpen?
P-E-N. Pen.
Like pen, like a
bull,
pig, like
bull,
a pig.
bullpen
like
issues.
It's a pen where you keep the bulls.
I got something I can pin on you.
Ooh,
no, that's pin with an I.
Ooh.
The pin is a pokey thing.
I feel a little.
I was just asking because I thought maybe he didn't know the difference.
You
in the
know,
words.
he's a terrible speller.
Yeah.
I'm just glad he got issues right.
I got issues.
I'm typing with my left hand here.
Oh, that's a whole nother segment too, because I want to get into what he and I talked about yesterday.
Let's get to Tim. On the Hurrdat hotline. He wants to talk about the bullpen issues. What's going on, Tim? Tim, how are you?
Tim, what's up, buddy?
Good morning, Damon and Damon's friend. How are you today?
Now, wait a minute. Where have you been? Seriously, this is the longest you've gone. What is wrong with you?
We moved from Colorado to Missouri.
Again?
Loveland. Yeah, some of us have jobs, Damon, and responsibilities where we can't just go on hiatus for a while and then pick it back up in the same area. Like our wives don't want to murder us and our children aren't sad. So we do things that are crazy, like be responsible.
I'm leaving.
You won't understand it.
That's a deep cut, Tim. You're out.
That's fine. Hang up on me. Your hold music was great. I know your friggin' email address by heart now. So that's good. I left Loveland, Colorado at 2:30 this morning, and you said maybe the smartest thing I've heard in a while about college baseball. And I think some people acknowledge it, but bullpens in college suck.
It's terrible.
You coach football, you guys, it's Nebraska. It's a football state. I get it. How many high schools have a pitching coach that specializes in teaching a kid to be a reliever?
Yeah.
Or how many select programs in baseball have a coach that says, hey, I want you on this team. You're going to fill one of my 15 roster spots. But your job is to get 3 outs and be a closer. It's such a niche place for a baseball or softball player to be. But I think there's a gigantic unrealized market for a pitching coach or just a good baseball coach or a softball coach to say, how can I get a kid to look forward to this little piece of the game, this sliver? They're not going to hit probably. They're probably not playing defense anywhere else. But I want a kid who can, without a doubt, go out and mow down 6 batters, right?
Yeah.
It's not a thing because you can't fill a travel ball roster with closers. You can't fill a high school team with closers.
Well, it's
so fun for.
It's a resources issue, right, Tim?
That's a great point,
no, it is. But it's a
because look at what happened with Sears. He gets out of the bullpen, where he clearly wasn't comfortable, and gets to be an every 5-day guy, and all of a sudden he's conference player of the year.
But it's a resources thing, right? Like in college baseball, you don't have the resources to specialize in that way with a lot of these programs because, like, you only have the 11.7 scholarships. So it's really hard to be like, hey, I'm going to spend money on a guy that's only getting me 3 outs. Like, that's a hard sell.
Why are you spending money on stuff? Like, to me, that's not a hard sell. To me, you take the walk-on that wants to be a pitcher, and you say your job is no longer to worry about filling 7 innings on a Tuesday. Your job is no longer trying to get 27 outs and win me a ball game or limit damage. Go out and blow your shoulder out on 20 pitches. And then ice it and be ready to just go destroy your shoulder the next day on 20 pitches. And you don't have to give them a ton of money for something like that. You got bullpen catchers that are doing it because they want to be bullpen catchers. They want to be around the team. There's this innate mentality to a baseball player. And I'm sure it's across all sports. You don't want to leave something you love, right? So it's this opportunity to recruit 1 or 2 kids every other cycle, maybe. Because it doesn't have to be an every year. You don't need to go get a closer. Or every other year, you don't need to go get a 7th and 8th guy. But if you can convince one kid that was an outfielder, right, who could throw the ball from right center to third base.
Bobby Thigpen.
You've got a freaking cannon. But you are going to go and you are going to close out games. And you are going to go out there and you're going to be a maniac. You're going to talk to yourself on the mound. You're going to be a little bit of Cristo with a little bit of Jordy Ball, right?
Hey,
just go out and intimidate the shit out of them and give me 3 outs and we're going home.
Did you realize that that's how Bobby Thigpen got a job in college? He had a hose. He was playing outfield. He literally would come from the outfield and take the bump and close out games.
So here's my
But Tim, you still with us?
I think Shane dropped him.
Oh, well, you didn't have to drop him. We just cut it out.
Here's my issue. So I agree that you have to specialize at being a reliever in order to be good at being a reliever. Like, it's a totally different mindset than going out and being a starter.
Tim, we didn't talk about bathroom soap and anything else and how his roommate's doing, aka his wife.
I'll bring him back as
Tim,
long
you
as
there?
he doesn't curse.
Tim?
I didn't curse. I said an alternative word for poop. You want me to curse? Give me 5 minutes. I'll teach you some stuff.
No. Here, so before
I coach 12-year-old girls.
Oh yeah,
I got them all.
So I've been knowing you long enough to know that it used to be. So did we start at like 8 or 9 when you were going to Kansas City? That was some years ago. It was a while. So how's that going?
So this is my favorite part of the sport, and this is why I'm kind of passionate about it. My 13-year-old has turned into the smartest softball player probably at like 16 or under. And we went from Nebraska to Colorado, which was a step down in softball. And she could go out and just kill teams. Now we're in Kansas City, which is one of the true meccas of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
She's gone 17 innings without giving up an earned run, and she's 0-5 in her last 5 games. There is so much good softball and so much good starting pitching that I started thinking 2 months ago, like, my daughter's a freaking closer. She can always go get through a batting order one time, no problem.
Gotcha.
Second time through, somebody's going to do something goofy. They're going to lay down a bunt, whatever. An error is going to happen. And right now that team's offensively challenged. So she's losing 1-0 or 2-1 games a lot. And I don't know what you do other than where can I go and find a niche that she slots into that she can be better at than anybody else. And then you start expanding that thought. Jordan Ball can get through 7 innings 90% of the time. But when she can't, you're going from an Olympic-level athlete to somebody who's filling a role that they don't do full-time. So it's really this whole thought process of where we're going with my children is Look at it. It's obvious. There's no gap like that in football. I don't think there's a position in basketball where you're not wanting to be a starter. There's no like, I'm going to be the sixth man of the year, and that's my goal, right?
Especially at the collegiate level. It's hard to find a guy that you could just come off the bench and, okay, hey, your job is just to go get buckets or whatever your role is.
Correct. And Ravi's absolutely right. I mean, God, now I admit it. I know it's.
Oh, that's that. Listen, now we for sure hang up on you. That dude is never right.
I would. No, it is a resource issue, but I don't think it's a proper allocation of resources. I don't think it's a resource that should be spent. I don't think there's money that goes to it. To your point, give me a right fielder who can just go get 3 outs. I don't care if you know how to throw a curveball or a changeup. Go throw 99, hit somebody in the chin every once in a while to keep them honest, and just blow it past 3 guys to get you on the road back home.
All right, so
that was there. I'm off my soapbox. I still brush my teeth in the shower. That hasn't changed because I moved.
Have you upped your soap game? Have you upped your soap game?
No, I'm still like, I don't know how you up it. I get the Cremo thing. I get some of these novelty soaps, but the scents that you can get at our store is as good as it gets. And it's not even about me smelling that great. Because 5 minutes later, I smell like I did before I got in the shower. But it's my bathroom. I want to smell my bathroom that smells better than me. And where else are you going to go? It's Bath and Body Works or get the heck out.
Hey, they do have 2 great sprays that I use now. I think of you every time I go there. I walked in there. This is crazy. I can't believe I'm telling you this because you're pretty tough on me. But so I went there. This was this was in March. And we were looking for some stuff for the house. And I wanted to run to Bath and Body Works because it's a couple minutes from my house. And I had a 20 in my hand. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to go get a couple of smell goods because you know me, I like fragrances, right? I walked in there. I spent $87. I spent $87. I wanted to drive my car into a light pole. I couldn't believe how I fell for the okie doke. They were so nice to me in there. And it was the buy 6 for $13. I was like, oh, okay. Okay. Oh, let me smell that. Oh, okay.
It's the Costco trick. You're like, oh, it's too good of a deal. I can't not buy it.
I'm like, why would I spend $87 in Bath and Body Works? I'm like, Tim strikes again.
So I lived in Gretna and then Elkhorn, so we had the outlet mall. Could you imagine what you would do to your personal finances if, like Adidas and Nike, Bath and Body Works opened an outlet store at the Gretna Mall?
Dude, there is a Bath and Body Works out there.
So are you still doing the same thing? Are you still doing like the soil, like the fertilizer stuff in KC?
I work with farmers still. I love farmers. They are the most honest, hardworking. You cannot beat the honesty of somebody looking you straight in the face and saying, I don't like you, leave. That is maybe the greatest thing that can happen. So now I don't got to go back and waste my time on it, right? I'm just on to the next one.
So what region are you in Kansas City seems kind of heavily populated to be doing the farm thing. Like, are you on the outskirts?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but what you can do is drive like 5 minutes out of town. And typically when you get outside of the cities, there's farmers.
Oh, you know, like,
so we're in Lee Summit.
You know, like all of Kansas exists, right?
Wow.
There's farmers. No, not Kansas. Kansas is awful. I'm in Oakley, Kansas right now, and it's like a dry fart. It just stinks and it's windy. This state is awful. I don't understand how anybody can do central or western Kansas or eastern Colorado and wake up in the morning and not want to go jump off their balcony and land on their face. It is terrible.
Tip,
I don't get it.
You never disappoint, man. Keep me up to speed.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. Hey, you work at a high school. Go talk to a baseball coach and say, have you ever thought that maybe you should have a closer and teach a kid to do it and then go get him recruited to be a closer or a middle reliever? I'll bet they say, one, you're an idiot. And then 2 days later, they're like, that's the smartest thing I've ever heard. But still, you're an idiot. And you're friends with that guy on the radio that nobody likes.
Thanks, Tim.
So I agree with Tim in principle.
I'm telling you, that was Bobby Thigpen.
My issue is I think
it's Kenley Jansen.
I think
was the catcher.
Underestimating.
There's a lot of those guys.
There are, but I think he's underestimating the resources part of it. Can we pod that down there, Shano? Thank you.
Dude, like,
What
what are you doing?
I'm waiting for you to get to my next caller.
We'll get there in a second.
Wow.
Got a little tense.
Wow.
He gives every time he calls, he gives me the sweats.
So you just don't know if he's gonna swear again.
This one time, I was looking for. I wanted to not aerate. I wanted to fertilize my yard.
Yeah.
And he had told me a couple months earlier that there's a certain temp your ground needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, so can I just how would I know that?
Yeah, how do I know what temperature the ground
Can
is?
I just stick my cooking thermometer in the soil?
Yeah.
He called and had an unbelievable 10-minute meltdown on how that was the dumbest thing he's ever heard. It was incredible. And I know it was at my expense, but it was still fun.
It'd still be funny.
Right, because and he takes his shots,
Well,
right?
you know what you don't know what you don't know.
Listen, he argued with Severe for a good 6 straight minutes on why you should not brush your teeth in the shower. And why he does. It was incredible. The back and forth.
My only issue, I agree that you should teach guys how to be relievers because it's a different skill set than starting. My only argument with him is I don't know that it's as easy as just turning guys into relievers that aren't already pitchers.
Yeah.
I think that's trickier than people, and like
pitching is a skill. It's a skill. It's an art form, right?
Yeah,
it has to be.
If you're taking an outfielder, whether it's a curveball or not, what's going to be the issue is control, right? So you don't want relievers that throw balls all the time. Like you don't want relievers that get walks. That's how you lose games. More often than hits, you lose games with the relievers because they put guys on base for free. So that would be my only issue with, like, yes, there are certainly guys that are capable of that. And maybe they make those guys specialize too much when they get to college, where it's like, hey, I was a really good pitcher in high school. It's like, yeah, you're just going to be our shortstop now. Like, yeah, take those guys, but you're going to have to give money to those guys. Like, I don't think it's free the way he was saying. I don't think you're like, if you're relying on.
So there aren't a lot of Mariano Rivera's where you could just teach them to throw a splitter and that's the only thing, or a cutter, and that's the only thing that they can throw.
That's correct. Yeah, that is unusual. That's an outlier.
And I get it. We're talking about at a different level.
Yeah.
But in the major leagues, and the trade-off is it's much more difficult at that level because it's harder to get batters out.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a minimum baseline level of talent where you can convert guys. Because there are plenty of converted closers.
There are, but also, like, we know how hard some of these infielders and outfielders throw. Like, if it was just that easy, they would have pitched at some point in their lives.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have a guy that just throws 99 from shortstop, and no one's ever been like, oh, maybe he should pitch. It's like, no, that he's not a pitcher.
I immediately thought of a guy like Cole Eaton, who was at Elkhorn South and signed with Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Pitched some, but they primarily, he's their highest rated outfielder that they brought in a while. And I was thinking, like, I wonder if he wanted a role in the short term.
Yeah.
Could he take the bump in high leverage situations?
Sure.
Like he would. So
but again, it's a guy that pitched already.
Yeah, that's the caveat.
Yes, you can't just take guys that have never pitched.
That's the caveat.
Not very often.
He had taken the bump before.
Yeah.
But when he's describing the scenario, I'm like, oh shoot, man, that's Cole Eaton.
And again, because he was so good at something else, they did spend money on him.
Yeah.
Like, these guys aren't free, is my point. Whether they had pitched or not, whether not, like, if you've got a minimum skill set.
Are you still worried about scholarship allocations in baseball? These rosters are huge.
Yeah, I have no, especially as we get into this paying players directly from the universities. I don't know what that looks like in baseball. Like, I don't know if that fixes it. I don't know if it makes it worse. I really don't know.
Yeah, go back and listen. I know you're not a big listen to interviews guy. Check out UC Santa Barbara's coach.
Mm-hmm.
Similar sentiment that Kyle was talking about with Cal State Fullerton's guy.
Yeah. Like I don't know what that looks like. And so, and the other thing, so if you're a kind of like what Tim was talking about, if you're a guy and your choice is between, hey, I'm like a 40th round draft pick, or I have to go walk on somewhere, I'm probably just going to go try the draft pick thing. Like, if I'm going to be in a situation like he's talking, like if he's talking about where I'm getting no money and they're asking me to blow my shoulder out every weekend, I'm probably going to take my chances as a draft pick.
Yeah. I think, and one thing I think we got to be clear, because kind of how I heard it, I don't think he's saying, hey, if you've never taken the bump before. I think he's assuming that we know that everybody that goes to college at that level has probably pitched at some point.
That's not true, though.
I kind of think it is.
It's not. I saw it firsthand.
I kind of think it is.
That's fine.
Most of the guys that went D1 from Miller North when I was there did not also pitch. Now, maybe that's an outlier, and so I've got a weird anecdotal experience there. But like,
Connor
Gillespie didn't pitch.
Let me go. I'll predate you with like Troy Shell, Todd Bartles.
That's fine.
Mark McGinn.
Yeah.
Brian Bodner. Those guys all played other positions. But, I mean, that was one of the filthiest four-man rotations. And I'm just using Miller North as an example.
That's fine.
Right?
I'm just, from the time I was there, like Evan Porter
So,
didn't
like,
pitch.
every time, like when Jeff Chin took the bump for Westside, he wasn't a natural pitcher. I mean, Standish was a first baseman.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Greg Olson did a lot of other things before he became a great pitcher.
That.
So I do think a lot of it's like,
I'm not saying no one does, but
it's anecdotal, so I can't. I'm not married to this,
Mm-hmm.
but I do think it's similar to. I put my best player at quarterback. Like sometimes I think in baseball, I see it a ton.
I think that happens sometimes.
Hey, can you pitch? Just throw strikes. Like,
yeah,
I think that happens a ton.
I think that happens prior to varsity. I think by the time you get to varsity, at least again, this is my anecdotal experience. By the time those guys got to varsity, they weren't pitching anymore. Like Robbie Knight didn't pitch, Adam Munster didn't pitch. Evan Porter didn't pitch, not on varsity anyway. Like Connor Gillespie didn't pitch. Like none of those guys. The only guy that pitched, I think, that played position regularly was Greg Johnson, who was the catcher, and then he was the closer. He ended up going to play. He did what Tim's talking about.
So you don't think there are more Schwellenbachs than not?
I mean, not at that level. Like Schwellenbach's like the highest version of what we're talking about.
But I think he's talking about once you're in college, you at some point have probably pitched before, even if you're a positional player.
I don't know that. I mean, as a kid, probably.
And I'm not saying Jake Myers took the bump, right? But if I was a betting man, I would venture to guess. I should text his dad. I bet you Jake's pitched before.
Yeah, but like, at what point does it count? And what, like, I'm talking about in high school at the varsity level. Like, yeah, everybody pitches when they're 12.
I kind of
does that matter?
I kind of think that was his point. I do. I don't want to speak for him though.
Okay, but being a pitcher when you're 12 and then being a high leverage reliever in college, that's a pretty big gap to fill.
Outside, again, I'm not gonna die on this hill. What I was hearing was if there's a baseline of talent, minimum talent, then it becomes more of a mindset thing.
Maybe, but again, those guys aren't free.
I get it. You still have to teach it.
And those guys aren't free.
Yeah, but how many guys? You can only play 8 guys at a time that aren't pitching. So what are the other 13 position guys doing outside of the other 12 pitchers that you have available? Like, what are they doing? I
understand that. I do. But again, those guys are not free. Like, you're not getting those guys as walk-ons because that was his other part of the point. Like, I think those guys exist. I don't know that it's as common as he thinks it is.
Yeah.
But you're also paying for them.
I understand.
Like, you're not getting...
It's fascinating. But the bullpens are awful.
We'll get to Michigan Lands coming up next. We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla on the Pillar Exterior stage. Coming up at 8:45, we're going to talk to Rex Holt. He's the voice of Oklahoma State baseball. At 9, we'll talk to Mike Sautter. And at 9:45, we will talk to Matt Vrzal. But right now, Michigan Lance is called back because he wants to talk.
Almost never let this happen.
I know.
But he did want to talk baseball, and baseball is hot and heavy.
He wanted to talk Nebraska, Florida, so we're bringing him back. Michigan Lance, let's talk some regional baseball. What's up?
Hey, is the regional, is it best out of 3 or is it a one and done?
It's double elimination.
It's double elimination.
Okay, so, man, I was looking at Florida's schedule, and I'm looking at Nebraska. I'm like, how did Florida even get in this thing?
No, we've been talking about that quite a bit. Most national guys that cover the sport don't feel Florida should be in the field. But they're in the field, number one, because of their strength of schedule. Number two, or 1A, is because they're Florida.
And
they have arguably the best player in the country.
And 1B is they had a guy on the committee.
Yeah. Listen, so even our guy knows, but listen, he's not.
I'm not being totally snarky here.
Even our guy from D1 baseball, Fitty, he said the same thing. He just said it in passing. He goes, "Yeah, that whole thing was weird, but when you have your own guy on the committee, those things happen."
I mean, he
just kept it moving. Like,
look at all the guys, look at all the teams that had guys on the committee, and look at what the results were for those teams. Like, it was pretty aggressive this year in the advantage going to having a guy at the table.
Well, so this now, if Nebraska loses this deal, then like that's not a good thing, right? Like they should win this game. You know what I mean? I know they're not favorite, but isn't this a letdown if they lose?
I don't think so. And I'm not just
come on, guys.
Let's so do I strike as the type of person that wouldn't keep it? Won't tell you the truth. Do you know why I think I'm just saying we just talked about how they shouldn't be in here. And now here's the thing, and I've said this all week. Mm-hmm. I said I don't feel good saying this, but two things can be true at once. Florida has no business being a 3 seed, but they are fully capable of beating Nebraska
and winning the regional. Frankly, like
Florida's
capable of winning
Nebraska. Go ahead.
Well, why is Florida capable?
So they hit the ball a ton.
They're playing in a pretty small ballpark.
Yeah, they're playing in a bandbox, and they hit.
They hit almost 3 home runs a game.
Yeah.
They play it with like a major. They play it with like a major league philosophy. So guys, like I love baseball, right? So I know in Major League Baseball, it's one of 3 things: you either walk, you strike out, or it leaves the ballpark, right? Like that's
pretty much how Florida operates.
Yeah,
and that is
they got some bad losses, man.
Listen. Michigan Lance,
talk about their shit. They got losses to people that are unranked and are in lower divisions than them. Like,
no, I know they only won 3. They only won 4. Listen, they only won 4
series the entire
conference series all year.
Yeah, and they're they lost to St. John's, Jacksonville University. Like, this is. I'm like, what?
Hey, is Jacksonville pretty good? That's right around the corner from you, isn't it?
Well, they got some good players, but they didn't have a good season like they thought. I mean, their highlights was beating Florida, and they might have beat one more other big time school, but the rest of their games, no, man, I think they might have finished either at 500 or below. So, I mean, it wasn't like, oh man, it wasn't man, they shouldn't have lost to them, and barely beat like FAMU. Like, I'm like, I don't know. Like, so my thing is this with Nebraska baseball, right? So. This is the first time winning the Big Ten,
the tournament.
The Big Ten tournament. Yeah.
Now, isn't that like? Shouldn't they have more? Like, shouldn't they be consistently better baseball teams? The Big Ten?
That's the great debate that I don't think is a really good debate. They've been to the postseason. I think 7 years since they've been in the Big Ten. I think 7 out of 11.
Well, and they lost 2 times in the championship.
They've been so. I don't know where we think Nebraska baseball should be, but they've been in the postseason. Somebody check my math because I am going off my memory.
Mm-hmm. And when you say the postseason, you mean the
regionals?
I mean regionals.
NCAA?
Yes.
Oh, the regional?
Yes.
Right, yeah, the regional.
Yes.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
I know.
It just seemed like they should have more titles in the Big Ten, though.
But why, though?
Well, because I think that Nebraska is a program, and when it comes to baseball, like in the Big 12, I didn't think that was a good match for them. In the Big 10, I thought it was, and they could be successful.
I get it.
I think we got some other baseball prospects in the area than Illinois, Michigan, Ohio State. I mean, I don't even know how State plays baseball in the Big 10.
Listen, Ohio State has no business being bad at baseball. Okay. Well, they spend a ton of money.
Good baseball in Ohio.
They spend a ton of money though, right? And I get it. I know. Yeah. I already know what you're going to say. You're going to hang up and
got money too. Though.
Yeah, I knew. I knew that. I knew that's what you were going to say. You're like,
Nebraska doesn't have money. Here we go again. We think Nebraska's on food stamps.
No.
Right.
Wow.
They got money too now.
Wow.
So. And so I just think
Michigan lands for hating on EBT. Okay, I get it.
I'm not hating on EBT because listen, people need assistance. Nebraska doesn't need assistance. That's the thing. Like
what I was going to
Go ahead.
say is Ohio State has flirted with quality baseball programs a couple of different years since Nebraska's been in the Big Ten. Why they inexplicably can't get it right, I have no idea, because they have everything they need to be a good program. And at some points, they're more than capable. I just don't know why it hasn't been sustainable. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, for Ohio State.
Yeah, relative to what they're capable of producing. It's not like they've never been good before. Do you know what I mean? It's not like the Marlins or Diamondbacks winning a World Series, right? Like,
hey man, the Nebraska athletics deal, like okay, volleyball is a big time program, so we know when they went to the A, they're going to continue to have success. Like, is that the only program that we're looking at things as not as an anomaly? Because you talked about Nebraska football and their history and really what was happening back then compared to now. It was more of an anomaly.
Winning as many national championships as Nebraska did, I think, statistically given the population, is an anomaly. I do believe that.
Right, there you go. Yeah, and so are we? Is that what we're saying about these other sports? Because I thought baseball would be one.
No,
you know what I mean? Like, wouldn't be.
But I think there's two discussions. Number one, Nebraska baseball has been better than you're giving it credit for. They've been in the postseason. I'm waiting for somebody to validate.
Five.
I got you.
No, it's more than 5.
It's more than 6, including this year.
Okay, so 6 out of 9.
Yeah.
Okay, including this year. Okay.
Yeah. That's,
okay.
So what do we?
Yeah, I'm with you. Hey, I'm with you. I just thought they.
Okay, so I
started with titles.
I think it's better. You know what I mean? I think it's better than the critics give it credit for. Like, I'm not sure where we want Nebraska baseball to be, but it's pretty good.
Okay, let me say this. Should they be consistent? So they made the regional consistently, but what about the super regional? That probably hasn't had that much success.
No, they lost to Arkansas in the supers.
Yeah. No, that was the region. That was the Arkansas regional. They haven't made the supers since they made the Big Ten.
Yep. No super since the Big Ten. That is correct.
Yeah. So right. So because when they're making these, they're probably middle of the pack. Like, are they playing like most of the time better teams because they're kind of
if they're not hosting, they're not a 1 seed. So that means they're not picked to win it. You know what I mean?
So yeah, exactly. So that's where I think like they should have had a couple more hosts in there. You know what I'm saying? And getting in the Super Bowl. I think they're a program that should be consistently doing that more in the Big Ten than they were in the Big 12. I mean, so with programs that are, because what was the excuse then? Well, they play the Southern teams, Texas, Oklahoma State. Like, we have a disadvantage. Well, now we're a Southwestern, Nebraska's Southwestern team. Like, shouldn't they have an advantage now? Like, no. I mean, we said for one region, but now when you're in the region, it's not. I just think we got a lot of good baseball in the area of Nebraska and the surrounding to be a competitor once they got to the Big Ten.
Yeah.
In those super regionals, you know what I mean? In the upper echelon, a 1 seed hosting, and I just think I don't know what you guys are. I mean,
I wanted to get to scheduling in Nebraska on Black Friday with Kansas City, but we'll come back and we'll reset what we think the expectation levels are. Because,
well, we need to talk with our guy Rex Holt coming up next. Oklahoma State
baseball. He'll tell us that
they're hosting the
2-1 fave that's hosting the regional.
We'll see.
No more college football on Fridays, man, or NFL. Leave it alone.
We'll see what Rex has to say coming up next on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We're efforting.
Don't mind me. I'm waiting for Shane to say something. Shane, are you producing today?
Yeah.
Are you guys going?
What do we got going?
I left him a text, so it just went right to voicemail. So maybe he's leaving somebody a message or something.
Does he have his own show?
He does have his own show. It's coming up here later this morning. So he's probably prepping.
Doing show prep?
Probably.
We're efforting our guy Rex Holt, the voice of Oklahoma State baseball. But in the meantime, I got to remind you, Union Omaha's got another match tomorrow.
Let's go.
June 1st, it's the scarf giveaway night. You ever seen those soccer scarves?
Yeah.
Those things are those are legit. I like those.
I was at Bierchen.
Oh,
I used to go there quite a bit.
Yeah.
When I was north of
On that
Maple.
side of town.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of good places to eat in Benson, so I would go there all the time. And
it's like a big soccer bar.
Yep. And I know their owner really well. And he developed this burger, and it had sausage on it and bacon and an egg.
I've had that burger.
And a hash brown
It's really
patty.
good.
And it was incredible. And so it's obviously it's not really cost effective sometimes. He can't put it just like on the menu.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, we're going to run this through X amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and got 4.
Yeah.
Caleb ate 2, and I ended up eating 2. This was a couple years ago. And it was during Newcastle was playing somebody. I do remember that.
I think it's a Liverpool bar.
And everybody had scarves.
The scarves.
So it's 10 o'clock.
On like a Sunday morning, probably.
1,000%. Right. And I'm coming back from Abide. Yeah. And I'm coming through Benson. I'm like, you know what? Let's just stop real quick and get these to go for lunch later.
Yeah.
And I stayed an hour and 10 minutes.
That place was hopping, I bet.
It was crazy.
And Werner Park is going to be hopping as well. Make sure you get to unionomaha.com to get your tickets for tomorrow's match. It is the scarf giveaway. It's also the Night of Champions, where they'll be honoring the high school state soccer winners. So make sure you get out to unionomaha.com to get your tickets today. As we effort
this bullpen discussion is growing legs. There's some folks that are mad at Tim. I still think he was being. I still think he's kind of
he may have been making some assumptions that he didn't verbalize, which is fine. My biggest issue there is the money part. Is like, okay, maybe let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
He said, you guys. No, he actually said he. I'm not going to paraphrase. He, meaning you, didn't listen.
Well, I was listening.
Oh, he put it in caps too. Every dude that plays in college pitched earlier in life. Every outfielder pitched, and I'm literally saying start working on that in middle school.
That's fine if you're talking about middle school.
So okay. I didn't think I was crazy, but that's what I.
The way
I said I didn't want to put words in his mouth, but that's what I thought I heard him saying. The way it
sounded to me was like, hey, once they get to college,
I didn't
figure it out and teach them how to pitch, which maybe
it's not just you, because Aaron,
that's how it came off.
My guy Aaron said the same thing.
You knowing him maybe allowed you to understand what he meant better.
I thought that's what I heard, though.
That's not what I heard.
Oh, and I could clearly be in the wrong, because
when you know somebody, you hear things differently.
Well, yeah, but here this lets me know that maybe. And again, I know sometimes you drive him crazy, but he goes, you think you can just turn an outfielder into a closer? Right. Like, so maybe that's what he was hearing too.
That's that's how it came off to me, was how you thought he could just take randos and be like, hey, you throw hard.
You can't, what do you mean randos?
Just like random guys that don't pitch.
No, that wasn't the point.
That's how it came off, though.
Randos?
Like, random baseball players that
I listen, man.
That's how it came off.
I'm hooked on Ebonics. I understand the Urban Dictionary. I know randos.
I think it's phonics.
What I say? Ebonics.
Damn it.
My point is,
I'm telling you, man, live radio is something else.
The way that it came.
Are you scared every day, Shane?
Yes.
I know. Me too. Like I woke up the other day, Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh, going back to work. And I was like, oh. I've never felt in any situation in my life like every day was just like a cliffhanger on if we're going to be back on the next day. Because, I mean, some crazy things are going to be said. And keep in mind, I've worked with a guy that was highly, highly volatile.
Yeah. I don't think I'm volatile. I just think I'm a loose cannon.
Oh, semantics.
A little different. See, that's the difference between what I do and then what Lance was doing. Lance was moving the goalposts. I redefined the argument.
Yeah, you were not happy with
I
Michigan
wasn't.
Lance.
And we ran out of time. But my dude goes from Big Ten championships to postseason to super regionals to hosting as the measurement. No, that's exactly what happened, Lance. As the measurement for what Nebraska being successful enough or not.
Yes, indeed.
And I'm not, listen, I get it. I work for the network. But I'm far from a homer. Don't you feel like Nebraska's baseball program is better than we give it credit for? Like, what did we expect? Not to go all amazing, Daniel, but what's the original point of the discussion?
It's expectation setting is where it starts.
We need more Cade Poviches and Spencer Schwellenbachs and
So,
Jake Meyer. Like, what are we talking
here's what
about?
I actually think there's an interesting point here, because Lance did bring up something that I've harped on, like Omaha a lot for their local recruiting and stuff like that. And I've been talking for 20 years since I was in high school about how good the baseball talent is in the state of Nebraska. What I actually think has happened, and I don't even know if this is a hot take, but like moving to the Big Ten, I feel like the baseball talent in Nebraska is actually too good for Nebraska.
Nah,
now.
We are making moves out here.
Don't ever say that to me again. What?
Look at the places that the high-end guys are going.
Like Cole Eaton going to Tennessee.
Going to Tennessee. You got the Vanderbilt kid from Millard South.
The quarterback that kicked our tail?
Yeah, Cam Kozel.
Yeah.
Right?
Kozel.
The guys, they're going places that are like high-level, high-end baseball places.
Fountain going to LSU.
LSU. You're going to SEC schools. Like, if you have SEC offers,
don't say that to me again.
That's fine, but listen, when you're in the Big 12, it was a different conversation in terms of what type of baseball you were playing.
I understand that.
Versus in the Big 10.
Like, so you think it's been counterproductive for the move? Because
for baseball, it 100% has been.
Okay.
For other stuff, for football, obviously it was the right thing to do. You have to do it. Like, look where we're at in football. It is the only way Nebraska could have survived, especially considering their recent stretch of how they've played. But for baseball, it was 100% counterproductive, because we went from, are these guys good enough to be playing in the Big 12? I mean, Nebraska high school players for baseball, to all of a sudden, I think they're probably too good to be playing in the Big 10. Now, that doesn't mean you can't still stay home if you really want to, but if I'm a high-level guy and I'm making the decision on where to go to school and where I can go play at the next level, my chances are better in the SEC or ACC or Big 12. That's just how it is.
I don't.
If I'm a high-level guy in basketball, okay? Like, there were guys like Harrison Barnes.
So you realize Alec Boehm didn't have to go
I get that.
to the SEC.
You don't have to.
You get that Drew Christo, who was flirting with being a top 5 round draft pick.
I understand that. I look at Max Anderson and I look at Matthews from last year. I get that. But if you're a high-level guy coming out of...
Max Anderson did come back to Nebraska.
Yes, because he was an A&M guy. They had a weird class and whatever, right? So, like, that's, a little bit what I'm talking about, because A&M over-recruited, and one of the places he had to fall back to, quote-unquote.
Man, see, stop doing that.
What?
That's not a fallback.
It was, though, for him.
Whatever the hell it is.
Nebraska was not his first choice. He wanted to go to an SEC school.
So are you talking about quality or choice?
Both.
Okay.
If you have the choice of a higher quality program, most guys will make that choice.
Don't you think people want to play? And here's the weird thing that you're not addressing when it comes to baseball. There's a certain level of baseline talent, regardless of conference, that will that transcends. So if Devin Taylor could hit the ball in the SEC,
100%.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we understand
I'm not
that
saying
on an individual level.
I'm not saying the baseball in the Big Ten is bad. What I'm saying is
I'm not saying you're saying that.
And the best guys from the Big Ten could play in the SEC, 100%.
Okay, thank you.
But when you've got certain opportunities coming out of high school, the natural inclination is to
I
take
want to play
best.
I want to play against the best players. Okay.
It's to take the best opportunity that you have. Now, some kids will get a little bit more into the weeds and be like, okay, I can play earlier at Nebraska.
You don't want your games to be on BTN Plus. You want them to be on
ESPN.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and well,
then say that.
That's what I was trying to say.
Right there.
We got there eventually.
Oh, I tell you what, you could save yourself a lot of angst with me.
Who says I want to?
That's fine.
I totally believe that.
It is not optional.
I do. I think at some points during the show, you're like, man, I bet that guy's like 160 over 121 right now. I'm going to keep this going. Why let him just function like a normal person at like 110 over 70? Like,
well, listen.
What are we at right now?
110 over.
Did you see the double take I had to? Hey,
yeah, you
could take a pulse, right?
You got mad as soon as I said it. Oh, you're going.
Yeah, nothing would please me more.
That's crazy, isn't it? That's what happens to me internally.
But look at Harrison Barnes is a great example of this.
I may have to send Madonna.
Yeah,
thing is
Donna Summer here. Just like take some deep breaths. Give me a little woosah here.
Shane, this is incredible.
Harrison Barnes is a great example of this. He's from Ames, Iowa.
It's pretty impressive.
He got too good to go to Iowa State. The opportunity in front of him to go to North Carolina or wherever else he wanted to in the country, that opportunity as a high school kid.
That's a terrible example, L3.
No, it's a great example.
No, it's not, because playing basketball in the Big 12 conference is not inferior to playing in the ACC.
No. So conference to conference, that's a bad example. School to school, it's the right example. Playing at North Carolina is better than playing at Iowa
then
State.
give a Nebraska comp. Say Auburn.
Okay. Auburn for what?
Baseball.
Yeah.
You don't go to LSU and A&M.
We're not losing a lot of guys to Auburn. That's my point.
Okay.
You're not losing guys to the bottom of the SEC because those guys would just come to Nebraska. But the talent in Nebraska has gotten good enough, or is now seen as good enough, that there's better options than Nebraska on the table.
We're going to check back in a couple of years with Eaton and Fountain and some of
See
these
how they're
other
doing.
guys. Yep.
Mike Sautter coming up next. Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're also on KFOR in Lincoln for this third hour. Still trying to get DB's
way better.
Trying to get DB's pulse down a little bit, get his blood pressure down a little bit after he was upset about my very correct take about Nebraska baseball. But in the meantime, we're brought to you.
Not true.
We're just gonna keep on rolling here. In the meantime, I got to remind you that you got to get out to Warhorse Sportsbook this weekend. Whether it's to maybe talk about some of those lines that DB and I were talking about for NCAA baseball, whether it's playoffs, maybe you want to put some money on the finals that we now have set with Dallas and Boston, or maybe you're thinking a little tennis. We got Sinner up 2 sets in round 3 of the French Open right now. Basically every major sporting event you can think of, Warhorse Sportsbook has you covered. Whether it's a casino in Lincoln or Horseman's Park in Omaha, Warhorse Sportsbook is the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets. Go to warhorsecasino.com/sportsbook for a full list of details and house rules. That's Warhorse Sportsbook, no bets, no glory. Joining us now is the one and only Mike Sautter from Hurrdat Sports. Sautter, what's going on?
I'm trying to log into this, and it's not letting me because Shane sent me the thing in Teams, and I guess I got to update the Teams thing.
It's the whole thing. We're getting there.
Hey,
it's
listen.
a thing. So the video. Oh, he just sent me the link.
Yeah, it's on the way.
Listen,
Got it.
Jerome.
Yo,
Like we've been, I love
Baseball.
baseball. I love baseball.
yeah,
Okay.
big baseball guy. 1984 Omaha Northwest team. Last night saw them at the Oscars.
Yeah.
I would say he was not on the 84 Northwest team.
Yeah,
You
but
were
that
talking-
is
you were
that
talking
is
about- that's the Greg Olson team, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the last team before 05 Miller North going undefeated.
I'm in there, Shane.
A heck of a deal. Ravi said something that kind of it got
You got a little mad.
kind of.
You were upset?
Mad. You were mad. It's okay.
He said Nebraska high school baseball has outgrown the university.
I think the top end guys are getting better opportunities than Nebraska.
So my question to him, stop it. Just listen. At what point? So okay, why the double standard then? Because with football, we say, "Oh man, stay home, homegrown." With baseball, we're like, "Hey, go someplace else." My question to you is,
I feel like the football thing's changed. That's changing a little bit.
Okay, but listen to me.
Okay.
At what point do a few of those guys go to Nebraska and it elevates their profile?
Like a Carter Nelson.
I don't know why you would use him, but
because of the recruiting interest that he was garnering from other people.
Jiminy Christmas. Okay, but fine.
If Carter Nelson had gone to Georgia, people would have.
So Alec Bohm went to a couple of different schools, right?
Yeah.
If he winds up at Nebraska, out of college, it may be different. Like, how many of those guys do we have to have? Like, how many Dunsings do we need?
I'm telling you, Nebraska is recruiting in-state very well. Like they're
100%. And I get what you're saying,
but they're not getting.
I still think you're saying two things.
They're not getting Tyson Lewis and Kel Fountain, the two best players. Those guys are going committed, signed, whatever with SEC schools, so.
Right? Eaton goes SEC. Listen. I understand.
You can't take everybody either.
I understand.
No, but they would have taken. They'd have found.
They would have taken those guys.
I understand the pull. Hear my heart.
Okay.
But I do think Nebraska baseball's program is better if we would redefine success than we talk about it. Maybe it's the presence of how coaches pre-Coach Bolt's staff recruited the area. Maybe it's the relationships like they didn't develop with guys like Coach Silva. There's lots of issues, but you got to remember,
Okay,
Nebraska has a long history of not recruiting this state well from a baseball standpoint, and it started with John Sanders. So listen.
Mike Anderson missed a bunch.
I get the profile thing, but some of that.
So let me
can
ask,
we not agree? It starts at the top. Nebraska was once in the Big 12.
Let me ask you a question here.
The top 4 RPI in the Big 10.
If you're a high school baseball player, what level of success does Nebraska?
I want to play for a good team. That's what I want to do. I want to play. I don't just want to say I'm at LSU.
Yes.
I'm at Tennessee. If I'm Worthley, I'm at Michigan.
Okay.
Like, I want to play.
Can I ask a question about the mindset of those guys?
Oh, sure.
If you're recruited you're recruited at a super high level, how many of them are actually thinking, "Oh, I'm not going to get a play"?
Well,
that's not sports specific.
I
know how many kids I want to say that to?
Yeah, in basketball, I wanted to say it all the time. I know, I understand. That's why I'm saying it, because I saw it real time when I'm going out as an NAIA school and these guys are getting D2 offers for like these little tiny scholarships. And I'm like, hey, you're not going to play there.
The money thing is the thing. Like, baseball is different because there isn't fulls, and
that's why the NAIA and D2 thing makes some sense here.
How about if Nebraska would have got in earlier on a guy like Koziel?
Yeah. I mean, he's starting DH and second base for Vanderbilt.
I'm just saying.
Or like
I didn't.
Tyson Lewis.
I didn't like the. I just not sure I could let you get away with that.
Tyson Lewis.
Okay,
and
but what part am I wrong about?
Because the talent hasn't outgrown the program. If the program is having postseason success, it's the eyeballs.
Okay, but that's part of the size of the program. Is the
maybe,
eyeballs.
But I want to be developed and be functional too. Like, I'm not looking at this like a fan. I'm looking at this like either somebody that's been recruited or a guy that is.
I'm looking at somebody who's done the recruiting. Like, that's how I'm looking at it.
Hey, I know this is your segment and you're going to get this. Can we get this call real quick?
That's
I just want to hear
I just got to bounce it. I got to go to the locker room camp at 9:20.
Okay, because I want to talk about that. Shane, punch in Tim. Tim, good morning, man. What's up, buddy?
Oh, I was calling in to talk to the guys.
All right.
About Nebraska being the bubble for some of these kids and that.
All right, let's talk about it, Tim. What do you got?
No, I mean, you look at where a destination kid's going to be. If you go to the SEC, every stadium across the SEC has a bigger attendance, a better stadium, a better venue. Where the Big Ten, the Haymarket's most capacity, draws the most fans. Creighton, when they go out east, they're playing at fields that don't even have lights. So it's not just a matter of being seen or playing against that competition. It's also the deal of where you're playing and where they're drawing, who they're playing in front of, where scouts are going to see these guys live. And it's switched from just basically being a video look at these kids. Do they want to see live? They want to see arm action. They want to see how they play, and they want to see it against good competition. And Nebraska's just not there.
So, Tim, at what point do you think if these kids, because I'm guessing you're super familiar with high school baseball and baseball in general, correct?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. So, at what point does
humbly
could Nebraska be that school? Is it as simple as a couple of these guys staying home?
I don't think so, because you look at, it's a solid point with Sanders here. I mean, the guy came out in the paper and said there's not Nebraska talent to recruit to come and play in the Big 8.
Yep.
And that's the stuff that doesn't wash off. It creates a stigma, and those fathers now are having kids. They're at that level. And there's still that little bit of resentment when you go from the Big 8 becoming a power. And how did they do it? They had Oklahoma State, go to Big 12 play. Now you got Texas A&M, Oklahoma State. The Big Ten just stepped back.
Mm-hmm.
In our in-state schools, God love them, they're not turning out talent that's going to hit the transfer portal, that's going to go out, and they're going to Nebraska. That's a look for them that they want to bring in. It's going to be from the mid-majors or what's out there to fill a gap. wildly successful college coach I know, we had the same conversation. He's like, this, the camp attitude, not playing Legion ball, going to showcases, it's not developing players where they should be. So if your job, and you're Brian O'Connor, you're Ed Service, do you want the unknown commodity that is 18 years old, never left home, never had to ride a bus, never had to live off Totino's pizza 5 days a week? Do you want that kid, or do you want the kid from Boston College that's had 300 at-bats, knows what the terrain's like, and he's going to come in and be a solid backup for you at 20 years old? When we went into this open portal network, it killed us, but now that's the norm.
So you would make the case that the COVID year and the transfer portal has hurt high school baseball recruiting more than any other sport? Because at one point, before listening to you, I probably would have made the case for high school quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. But you bring up an interesting point with baseball, because I've been saying for 2 weeks, it's a ridiculously old sport still in college.
It is. And that's 100% a dead-on point with it. The JUCOs have suffered. There's, if you listen and you have that love of the game where you're listening to these high-level guys that are out there, the Henrys of the world that are scouting talent for baseball in America, we've fallen behind the Dominican, we've fallen behind Latin America, because there's just not the skill set that we're out there, we're teaching in-house, because everyone instantly goes to select league. We're a star, we're going to LSU and Miami and all that great stuff. But that's just, it's not the basis of what these kids are going to do. So when you do get that scout, and you do get a guy that's going to perform at a high level, they're going to learn at a higher level in camp against the other 20 guys on the roster, because every guy that's coming out there was an all-state player. You can't look at Nebraska, Creighton, UNO's roster and say, these are 24 guys that can play anywhere in America. You're doing it. And Nebraska does a good job. Ed does an amazing job. But when you're going out there in that light competition, it's just not there.
I appreciate it, Tim. Thanks for the call.
You bet, brother.
I look at like Tyson Lewis, for example. Like, I don't know, man. Arkansas is pretty good consistently, and I'm probably gonna go there over, staying home. But you got to get a guy like that. Like, and Nebraska's done a good job so far.
What was the question that I asked you off air when you were like, "That's good. That's a good point."
I don't remember.
At what if you feel like the local kids have outgrown the program, at what point does landing a few of those guys make Nebraska viable?
So I think Nebraska has become viable before they start landing those guys.
Like doing what, Ravi? Like playing in postseason?
I think making a deeper run helps.
Or not playing at Purdue and Illinois and
so Nebraska
and Michigan
I think
State.
Part of it is just the league you're in.
Yeah, Nebraska's always going to be kind of dealing with an uphill battle on some of these because of some of the things Tim talked about. The situations, not just at Nebraska specifically, because Nebraska does have it comparable to some of the more high-profile schools we're talking about, but you're only playing at Nebraska like half the time, right? You're going to all these other places where it's not like that. If you're talking about Creighton, you're playing in city parks on the road.
So Chad Myers in 2024 isn't going to Creighton.
Okay.
No, I'm asking. Like, is that what you're saying? Because when he left Gross in '95 or '6 or whatever.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Missouri Valley was a way better baseball conference than the Big East is.
Sure.
So a kid gets an offer in 2002 from LSU.
Okay.
Is he going to LSU?
Probably, but the chances of him staying at Nebraska are better when they're in that league. And they're better.
Does it have anything to do with Nebraska's success on the heels of going to the CWS?
Yeah, they're going back-to-back CWSs there, right? 0102.
Do you understand the point I'm trying to make? I do,
but also it's not
just
just
seems like the logic.
It's just not a Nebraska problem, though. It's a league problem. Because no matter how good Nebraska gets,
I just struggle with the talent has outgrown.
I think the top end talent has outgrown where the university is.
Not if they win.
No, because you still have to go do the other stuff still exists. Like if you're a baseball player and you think you're going to go play professional baseball and you're doing college before you do that.
If I know I can play for a home state that's going to make runs to regionals and supers, I just get the sense that may be the great quantifier for going down to Duty Noble and playing in front of 9,000 or 10,000.
It certainly helps equalize.
Okay.
But there's other factors like maybe they want to play outside all year round. Like maybe that's a thing. Maybe they feel they'll be a better player in a warmer weather state. Like there are certain things that Nebraska cannot change that I think do work against them in these situations.
I just want you to know that there's a practical application of what you're saying versus resigning yourself to what you are.
I'm not saying they should resign themselves.
And the latter, you just can't think.
I'm not saying they should resign themselves. I think they should still go after the Tyson Lewises and Cale Fountains. I just think you have to be realistic about, as of either a fan or whoever, mostly as fans, to understand, okay, we're going to go after these guys as hard as we can.
Mm-hmm.
We also understand there's a decent chance they're going to go somewhere where they feel the opportunity is better.
Okay.
Like that's
fair.
Like that's just how recruiting is regardless, right?
You don't have to talk me off the ledge. It's fair.
I mean, I felt your pulse. I think I do have to talk you off the ledge a little bit.
Yeah, you just weren't going to get away with that comment, though. I was like, I had, that's the first time I had to look at you like, I seriously may have to come across the table. And it's not because I like you in pastels.
Pastels.
Jerome.
Yeah.
The man in black, Johnny Cash.
Yeah, all black, everything.
You walked the line. How is MG camp going for you?
I haven't been. I'm just going to go today.
Yeah.
Locker room camp. Because, the participants aren't fantastic. So.
Not necessary, but
I'm just okay. What do you want me to say? Like,
so we have Omaha North, we have
Omaha North, Omaha Burke, Omaha North, Omaha Westview, Buena Vista, Ralston, Omaha South, Mount Michael, Benson, Omaha Northwest.
Oh, DB here for Mount Michael and Omaha Northwest. I love North too, but we open with them, and so I don't love them that much.
Burke and Omaha North are 9 to 9:55 right now. So.
Yeah. Gonna go check out.
I want to see quarterback play there for Omaha North,
and make sure you get me the scouting report defensively because I know they have some young studs, and we open with them. So
I feel like you guys will be all right.
We're gonna figure out a way to block a couple of those guys.
One guy.
I like their linebacking core too. It's pretty legit.
Yeah. Well, you guys,
be all right.
You should have the defensive game plan. You never mind.
Very. We have some advantages.
Got a starter that played.
I've got a scouting report for you. You should block Tyson Terry.
Yeah, a guy.
I love him.
He is such a offensive guard center in the NFL.
So I tweeted out yesterday.
I told him that I don't want to believe it though.
Yesterday shout out to Schaefer who's been out.
He's actually working now.
Like working.
No,
right?
yeah, he's doing good.
And he was asking me about a lot of guys because he was watching
Central.
Millard South and stuff. And he brought up some guys that I think are kind of flying under the radar.
Well, Isaac Jensen wasn't there because
like Glab and because somehow he forgot that he was there. And I'm like, we talk about him quite a bit. He's gonna be okay.
Right.
And then he was talking about I can't was it Dallas? Who was it? Another an intriguing prospect for Millard South. He plays tight end. And I told him he's kind of just
hyphen.
He's kind of coming into his own, but it is hyphen. It is a hyphen. It's a Gaius.
Yeah.
Is it
Dallas Gaius?
Anayagbo?
Yeah. I don't know how to. Yeah.
At what point?
He liked
and I hope this happens to Millard North and a lot of these other teams that are accruing a lot of good players. At what point do you think? Can you have too many good players?
You can have too many good players.
And then it boils down to chemistry. Look, Ravi's like, no, you can't. No, you can't.
Yeah.
You can have too many good players if you don't have the right team chemistry. You can have too many good players if you don't have good team culture. If you have those things set, there is no such good thing as too many good players.
I'm gonna tell you. I think.
Full stop. There's not.
I think they feel okay with making it work.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Like, when aren't they confident?
Yeah. Well,
I've seen this for years.
One thing I will say. So Amarion Jackson, right? Everyone knocks
great player.
Yeah, knocks his top end speed type stuff. But I don't know. He catches like everything.
He's like 6, 7, 8 yards out of bounds.
A guy I saw last night. Is he like the next like Xavier Watts? that is because he's going to play both ways this year.
So I've heard that a ton, especially from college coaches that have been over at 89th and Pacific over at Westside. I have asked specifically about what my thoughts are about him flipping over to the other side of the ball.
He's going to play both ways.
I actually hear that about Christian, and I'm like, are you guys crazy? Like,
there wouldn't be a tight end.
He's a college defensive player.
Yeah,
he's a pretty good
linebacker.
Well,
I'm not saying he should do that.
So what I'm hoping, listen, and we've got great offensive minds over there, so I let those guys mind their own business. But I'll be curious to see, like, he's going to have to be in elite level shape, which he has no problems doing.
Yeah.
And he's not primary focus, right? Because he sits inside guys like Keenan Cotton, and we have a couple of other guys that I think Eli Johnson's going to be really, really good. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens when guys see game planning is a real thing, especially as high school coaching gets better, because some of these staffs are really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just are, like, game planning and not allowing you to play to your strengths, I think has become more of a thing. Like, I think coaches are trying to find smart guys to coach, because it's about a lot more than just having good players, I think.
Well, that's what back to the Jackson thing. Like he if Nebraska offers them or not, it feels like we're going down the same line like we did with X.
But X had a Nebraska offer. He just got it late.
Yeah, where people are like, "Oh, he's not that good because Nebraska didn't offer." I don't know about you, but if you've seen
Aren't we past that though?
I don't know about you, but if you've seen the last,
I think we're past that.
If you've seen the last, I don't know, 10 years, Notre Dame's been pretty damn good.
Oh yeah.
So, like, can we move on from the narrative of I heard it last night? Well, Nebraska hasn't offered, so he must not be that good.
I tell you, people can make you dumber.
Bleep out of here with that.
I always tell you that. Like
it's still like a thing, which is weird.
I don't know if I don't think anybody thinks that's still the standard.
I think it's changing. I do feel like
I think people trust like Nebraska's offers too, though.
Right.
So I think two things can be true at once,
and that's perfectly fine. It's not. It doesn't. It shouldn't devalue someone. Also, right?
Like do you know how bad I want them to offer Keenan Cotton? Doesn't mean he's any less of a. I mean, he's the real deal.
Listen, Keenan. We talked about this before, but Keenan Cotton is going to have a monster year.
Listen,
he had. I was talking with a West Side coach the other day, and not named Damon, and it was he had like over 600 yards receiving. He played half the game.
Oh, I know.
Like, so like the stats, whatever. Like, he played half the game.
How about the targets? I was talking to a father of a high school team that we play in between weeks 4 and 6, and he is a big. He follows us a ton.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of pays attention to what we do, and he said, I would look at some of your box scores where you'd have guys with you'd have 4 guys with 3 catches apiece, or. It was almost never the same leading receiver week after week. And he goes, that's because his school is kind of going through some transitions. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, this kind of is how we would like to be if we can get our kids to buy into that. And I'm like, that's really the whole key to being being
okay with
it. It is like those good Millard North teams weren't going to be good if they couldn't watch a guy carry the ball at quarterback 34 times.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Like you have to be okay with that. Like sometimes the way that your team plays, winning has to be important, and the most important thing, and you have to trust that you're going to get your stats. Like if there was one thing that I could put in the water for high school success, ask the guy over off of 370. It isn't talent; it's the willingness to allow guys to get theirs. And it's not about your numbers that allows you to win.
Yeah.
I can make the argument that's why those Miller North teams are so good at basketball with the Hunter South teams.
Yeah,
because Hunter South didn't need to get his.
Yeah, you need.
He still got it though.
You need a lot of Jason Greens,
but a lot of there was a lot of
Max
Jason
Merle.
Green, Max Merle.
That's why I'll always love Jason Green.
You know who was leading scoring in a lot of those games? Jane Johnson and St. Thomas.
Yeah,
who was the 3rd and 4th or 4th and 5th best players on those teams? Jane Johnson and St. Thomas.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they weren't good, But
Yeah.
the other guys didn't
It's
need
very-
to get theirs because they knew they were all
It's
right.
a very good point.
Coming up next, we'll have more Hurrdat Sports Radio. We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on KFOR in Lincoln as well. You can get us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Podcast, TuneIn, whatever. You can get us all over.
All over.
If you're listening over the air, I don't know if you know this. We're the only sports program broadcast border to border in the state. You can hear us no matter where you are in the state of Nebraska. We love that. Shout out to our friends out in Grand Island, Kearney, Tri-Cities.
ESPN Tri-Cities, and
I think they can hear us all the way out in like Scottsbluff and McCook, and
I'm telling you, my guy yesterday at the packing plant, getting you in Wahoo, man. I'm so glad you're back on 590. I'm like, I got a crazy partner. I don't know how much longer I can make it. How about Tim just poking holes? Like, yeah, I'm responsible. I go to work. I just don't have 5 months hiatus.
Well, it seemed a little uncalled for.
Kind of feel like I want to wrestle Tim.
You want to fight him?
Nah,
more or less than you want to fight me over the baseball thing.
I do understand what you're saying, though. I just don't agree. I get the.
So I think you're right. You brought up like 0102. In 0102, the chances of like a Fountain or a Lewis or
they're
a Kozel,
going to Nebraska.
The chances of them going to Nebraska are way higher. Way higher. I agree. It's
just kind of a flawed argument.
It's not though, because the climate of Nebraska baseball in 0102.
But you didn't answer the question though.
What's
How
that?
many of those guys have to say yes before we're not having this conversation, and the SEC can still be doing what they're doing?
So I don't, because of the way Nebraska is situated in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a really good run. You can have a bunch of guys say yes. And
they play a great schedule.
And I think some of the inherent issues are still going to be there.
Oh, I understand that.
That's all I mean, is it's always going to be harder now than it was then.
I feel like,
and the talent,
I feel like the disarming comment of "that's all I mean" lands a lot differently. And I am at least listening with 2 ears and not one. Than Nebraska's high school talent has outgrown the university.
So I have this tendency.
That's ridiculous.
I think the high-end level of the talent in Nebraska has gotten
You know what you need? You
better.
know what you need to do to hang your hat on that?
What's that?
Those guys have to go and excel other places. That's the part you're leaving out. The allure is fine.
Sure.
But can we talk productivity? So you have to get back to me in a couple of years.
Sure.
I got to see what T. Lou's doing.
Let's go see.
I got to see what Cole's doing. I got to see what Cole's. I can already see what Cole's doing.
Yeah, he's starting already. He's doing good.
But he is one of the guys that I said since I saw him, like,
gonna be good.
Yeah, and it was primarily because of his frame and his personality.
Yeah, his makeup.
He comes across as a guy that was about that business.
Well, we talked about this earlier in the week, where like,
and he was clutch. He was even clutch like that in football.
The makeup of baseball players has to be different, right? If you're going to be successful in baseball, you can't be real. You can't be real up and down with your successes and failures, right? You have to be pretty steady Eddie on all of that, because otherwise you're not making it through the season.
I'm just telling you,
much less a career.
Nebraska wins a regional.
That certainly helps.
And it doesn't have to be repetitive. You said outgrew.
I think for where Nebraska currently is, the high-end talent in the state of Nebraska is going to have opportunities.
It's fine.
That look better to them than Nebraska does.
Sounds a lot better than. Can I use this?
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't want to just grab your
grabbing
stuff.
that stuff over here. But I'm saying the same thing. I'm just now saying.
No, I didn't. I certainly did not.
I'm just saying it in a way now that you find more palatable, but I'm saying the same thing. Which is fine. Like,
it's vintage you.
What's that?
It's like, the wordsmithing, and I'm the king of it, so I should know when it happens to me, right? It's like you're so slippery with words, you don't want to be pinned down. But if I'm also very good at isolating what was said, and I don't believe the talent has outgrown the university, because I think the university is a year or two of success away from that comment being so silly, regardless of how good the baseball talent is, that it's not. I can defend it. You're getting 5,000 a night at Haymarket,
which is terrific.
Any place in the SEC.
You're not. Here's the major difference, though. When you
There's several.
Okay, but one of the major differences when you go on the road in the SEC, you still get the 5,000.
Okay, I gave you that.
Yeah,
I am absolutely conceding.
like,
but what I'm willing to tell you is if a team wins at a high enough level, they don't care if we're playing at Iowa State or we're at Colorado or we're playing in Stillwater or they call it the Big 2 and not the Big 8. If you win,
sure,
you're giving too much credence to that. Because you have to have the opportunity to play too. Because at some point it's not good enough to just say, "Oh man, I'm going to such and such,"
no,
and then you don't do anything.
I get you want to play. I get that, right? And I think the chances of Nebraska being able to benefit from the transfer market for guys like the Alec Boehm situation or Max Anderson even coming back to Nebraska, I think the opportunity for that's really high. But I also think there's certain barriers to success at Nebraska in baseball specifically.
Like for who? Darren Ruff, Chad Myers, like who are we talking about?
I'm talking about today. I'm talking about now because Darren Ruff committed to Creighton in the Missouri Valley, which was a pretty good baseball conference.
Okay, now okay. I'm going to give you a chance to get out of this. This is a simple yes or no question.
Okay.
The pretty good Missouri Valley, you hate when I do this, right? Because you're like, oh yeah, this guy's good at this. You're going to compare the Missouri Valley being good and in the Darren Ruff era on this, that's different than Nebraska today, which is in a regional to the SEC. That's not.
So I think that's
the Mo Valley is more enticing than really. The Mo Valley is more enticing for Darren Ruff than Nebraska would be compared to the SEC now.
No, but that's why I said that.
So the answer is no.
That's why I said that
the answer is no, right?
Because I think the Missouri.
Well, don't give me that give me that example.
Well, Darren Ruff's not going to Creighton today, though.
How do you, Ravi?
He's not going to play in the Big East.
You know the thing that you're missing in this whole discussion?
What's that?
How they're recruited.
I can't control that.
But it's part of the discussion.
It 100% is. Like Anderson, Mike Anderson at Nebraska was terrible recruiting in state. Terrible. It was bad.
You have to be able to have those conversations
That's fine.
out loud.
So let's have that conversation.
Because it's part of it.
I think Will Bolt is much better at recruiting in state.
How many stories did I have to hear about Silva recruiting the Metro?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Well, it wasn't good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I get that.
I'm just like,
But I'm also saying, like, Creighton in the Missouri Valley is comparable to Nebraska in the Big Ten. I think that's a fair analogy in terms of strength, in terms of what they were dealing with. There's a few programs that take it really, really seriously and are really good. Then you've got some other guys, right? That's a fair analogy. But that's part of the reason I said that I think the baseball talent in Nebraska has outgrown the state's programs because Darren Ruff was really, really good, and he had playing professionally, and he had a great career, right? As a prospect,
Jake Myers was really, really good.
Yes, but as a
had
prospect,
a really good career. He ends up playing professionally.
This is why 20 years ago I was having this conversation.
Alex Gordon was really, really good. Had a really good career. He played professionally.
Yeah,
where do you want me to stop?
You can't switch to Alex Gordon in that situation because I'm not denying the fact that the guys.
How about Nicky Lopez? Where do you want me to go with this?
Because those guys that we're talking
about. Was it a Big East Mo Valley thing?
Okay, we can't play results versus opportunities when they come out of high school because those are different things.
No, they're not. Because
yes, they are.
No, you know why they're not though?
They are different things.
Listen to me, L3.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to tell you is a program's success relative to how they're recruited can be greater than and certainly equal to the prowess of 15K every night or going on the road in front of 8,000 for the quote unquote opportunity. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, but that's not what you're saying right now.
That is what I'm saying.
What you're saying right now is you're giving me all these guys that had really good results.
I'm giving you all these guys that were recruited the way that they should have been and embraced the opportunity to stay home were better. So I could easily make the case that some of the guys I'm using were ahead of their time in terms of the bulk of great high school baseball in the state right now may be at it. I won't say it's at its peak.
It's pretty high,
but it's high from like high end to middle of the pack to bad. Like it's at a pretty high level.
My question is not on the results of the guys you're talking about.
I'm not talking about results. I'm talking about why they chose the school they did, Ravi.
Part of the reason they chose the school they did is because of the opportunities they had or didn't have coming out. Like if Darren Ruff has an LSU offer, does he go to Creighton?
We'd have to ask D. Ruff.
That's my point.
But you didn't make one because we don't know the answer.
We don't know the answer, but I've got a pretty good idea.
Okay.
Wrapping up the show here on a Friday, wrapping up the week as we always do on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln, with the one and only Matt Vrzal, former Husker, owner of Pison's Pizzeria. Verz, what's going on, man?
Just getting ready for a Friday, boys. How are you?
I'm good. How we doing, man? How we moving? We up and at 'em? We functioning at a high level? You ready to attack today? You gonna be perfect on purpose? Like, what are we doing?
Oh, I'm alive. I'm breathing air.
Hey, by the way,
it's Groundhog's Day, my guy.
By the way, you know the whole you turning me on to that site for orders and stuff.
Yeah.
Just because you did smell incredible.
Clarify that it's for cologne.
Because you smelled incredible. You realize it's whatever time it is, 9:45 on a Friday, and I think you got me set up with what to do on Tuesday. Is that right? Tuesday? I officially have. Not only do they show up on my TikTok now, I bet I have about 31 emails from that outfit. Is that how that works? Did you know that was going to happen?
Okay. So I have failed you. You, in this day and time, need to realize that once you sign up for the list,
oh Lord,
you're going to get pelted with those.
I
need to have
I needed the
secondary email that you send them.
Oh,
no.
You
gotta have a burner.
You always. Like I've got one email, like my main email. I think has 40,000 unopened emails, and then my burner one has like 150,000 that I just haven't opened.
So the pro tip while you were babysitting me on Tuesday was we should have set up a burner email account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured the way you live, you would have one already. I figured in that recruiting trail in high school, you had a burner email. You could send these emails out early.
It's be a warrior at district66.net, I think is the burner.
Go westside.net. That's is that too obvious or what? What is that?
Hollywood High Pride 402.
Yeah, okay.
Billboard on I-80.
Yeah, okay.
It's actually nilhigh@yahoo.com.
How much you need.org.
Hey, so
getthatbag.edu.
Are we going to act like this was even really a thing? Because there are several schools that, like, not only as you saw firsthand with people that actually want to come to our school, how you saw that I handled it, Maddie, we're not near as bad as some of these folks out here.
Hey, man, it is what it is. Like, these are the rules. You guys are playing by the rules. I'm just here to give you a hard time.
All right.
And there's people that get the rules and want to accept them, and there's people that don't want to get the rules and want to bitch about it. So until they change it, you better get in or here to get going. The bus has left the station. You best pay your toll and hop on, and find you a Damon Benning that can go out there and do it.
You can't be out here like Dabo Sweeney being like, we don't mess with the transfer portal.
Yeah, that's dumb.
I know one thing with the big Sanders Jr. kid. I hope Dabo continues to dabble because I think that's Nebraska's biggest competition in getting him. I think I could actually see it could be Clemson and Nebraska. Dead serious.
Hey, take it. I mean, we're in. Instead of battling for against some lower level Division II teams, no disrespect, but we've got our hat in the ring with some big ones now. Hey, you know what pleonasm means?
I'm sorry, come again?
I followed words on X because you don't use big words anymore. So I miss getting educated. What's pleonasm mean?
I can't stand you. I don't
What's
know,
pleonasm
Matt.
mean?
What does it mean?
Yes. Yes.
What does it
I just
mean,
wanted to get
Ding
one you
Dong?
didn't know. Use of more words than is necessary for clear expression. Redundancy. I was so happy when that came across my feed this morning. At 41 minutes ago, that bad boy came. I was like, nailed it. Here we go.
I'm glad you think you are funny. Like, that is hilarious. Like, you need to be.
Ravi laughed.
It was pretty funny. Like,
well, he's a jerk too. Like,
the irony of what that
Shane,
word means is really is up there.
I guarantee Shane, who does not have his microphone on, he laughed.
I did laugh.
Hey, if you're listening to the show right now on the interwebs and you laugh, just message Damon that I laughed.
what is wrong? Are we gonna act like we don't know what he's doing right now?
I know what he's doing. It's still funny.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
I'm helping viewership. That's what I'm doing.
Hey, so Maddie, like, are you? I know sometimes you say some things tongue in cheek, but it is important, you think, if they're going to turn the corner, to be able to at least be in the fight with some heavyweights, right? Even if you don't get those deals accomplished.
Oh yeah, I think anything you do that kind of comes about, even you may catch somebody, you never know whose eye you're going to catch. And if you have a kid that you're sending, like if say Sanders Jr. goes on a visit to Clemson and he's talking to some other guys like, hey, Doug, you checked out Nebraska? Like, you seen what they're doing up there? That's just free recruiting, and it's free advertisement. And then, if you get a kid then that reaches out to you, let's be square. Nebraska for a while in recruiting was a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, man, go up there. They'll give you whatever you want. You ain't going there. I know I ain't going there, but they'll go there because they're going to take care of you. Well, now it's to the discussion of, hey, they're doing some stuff up there. Like they're moving and shaking. You better go check that out because, if I fit there and you're like me, you could fit there and then we could both fit there together. So I think that is I think that's invaluable, but it's good. And it kind of gets your juices going and you're like, okay, we're in the mix here now. We have a chance. That's where it seems in the past at times it's like, we're talking to them, but I don't know what the chance is.
Yeah, and obviously Sanders Jr. not the only one. You've got Michael Terry, the 5-star out of Texas, who's been impressed with Nebraska. You've got Dawson Merritt, who's deciding between Nebraska and Alabama. At what point?
Hey, Verse, when's the last time you? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
When's the last time you've seen
it?
I'm sorry. When's the last time you've seen an NFL defensive backs coach carry on publicly on Twitter with another NFL defensive back that he doesn't coach? Like, have you checked out the Merritt Cam Taylor Britt thing? Like, does that seem extra to you, or is that just part of the way the game is played?
I think people right now, everybody's just too far in your feels. Like, go harden yourself up. Like, go get called. Can I say the P word on here?
No,
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
Like, go get called a kitten. Like, go get called a B word and deal with it. Like, don't feel you got to respond. Like, you can get into all of them, like lions and sheep. Like, if you're that insecure about what you're doing that you got to respond to players, it's like, what are we doing? And it's not even your player. Like, be better. There's one. You use that on me. You try to use that one on me. Be better. But it's like, what are you doing? Like, don't you have a job to do that would involve like watching copious amounts of film, but yet you got time to go Twitter ears and like see what Cam Taylor Britt's talking about? Like
I get it, right? Because I want his son to come to Nebraska too, and I'm not like, I just thought it was. I'm like, he could send him a text. But
if you're that,
because you know what I'm afraid. But you want to be. I'm going to be fully honest. Sure. What I don't want is to like have the Charlie Brown moment where it was like, we gave the illusion, hey, we're here. Because I know the work that Nebraska's put on behind the scenes to like really go after a top ranked outside linebacker recruit.
Yeah.
I just don't want the fans to feel like it was the banana in the tailpipe thing. Like, don't play us. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm at with it.
You haven't put a product on the field to make a high level recruit's parents feel comfortable yet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number two, if you've raised that child and you're so insecure that you think they might make a bad decision, that's a you problem.
Yeah.
Man, I am killing it today with Damon Benning's slogan. Nailing
Yeah.
it.
You
see what I'm saying? Like, if you're worried about it, you don't trust the kid to make a decision. You raised him.
Mm-hmm.
Why not let him do what's best for him? Because this ain't your career.
Yeah.
What if that kid really falls in love with Nebraska? Because that's what everybody says. You go somewhere and you fall in love with the place. Well, you don't want him to love what he loves. You want him to love what you love. You had your chance, dog. Your run's over. Let him do his thing. Like, that's what so much of this boils down to.
You guys think he's
the
funny?
parent?
Huh? That's great. That's
The
great.
parent doesn't want the kid to make the decision. You did a great job. I'll give you a compliment. You did a great job of staying out of the way. As best you could, as hard as you fought it, and I watched you fight it because you wanted to help. You wanted to make sure that the red and white that he was in Lincoln and not in Madison. You did. But kudos to you, though you didn't, because you knew it had to be his decision.
Yeah.
And that had to be hard. And I saw it eat you up, and I tried to be your buddy. And Matt Turman, who is listening right now, said he laughed. So that's good.
Yeah, apparently everybody's laughing.
But it's you did your job. Okay? Coach as an NFL coach, what are you worried about, dog? Like, let the kid make his own decision.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't enrolled. And they got rid of parents getting in the gear at the photo shoots when they go on their trips. So maybe you're mad. I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't let you get in a uni. I don't care. But let the kid decide. You be like Damon Benning. Fight it off as hard as you can. Come down to Paisan, have a couple drinks, and just let the kid make the decision.
You're a child, but you're my child, so it's all good.
Verse, we appreciate it as always. Have a good weekend, bud.
42 texts that say they laugh.
You're an idiot.
I am return on investment. I am return on investment for you.
Yeah.
You pay me $0 and I get you laughs.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
My favorite.
That's Mr. Chuckles.
Hey,
Matt Vrzal.
by the way, you need to get over here because Katie went down to Oklahoma City, so you got to vacuum. So chop. Get over here.
That's the show for the week. We'll be back on Monday if DB doesn't choke me out before then. It's Hurrdat Sports Radio.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.